Shut the fuck
Hello.
up. Hello.
Why are you this way?
Well, my therapist says.
No, we're playing D&D.
Yeah, we're playing D&D.
We are playing D&D.
D&D is my therapist. Let's go.
Hashtag escapism.
Yes.
Can you check, John? Can you check the speaker real quick?
Check. Speaker, check.
John is the kobold name. We had to give it a name.
Well, yeah. Something about dehumanizing it, which is weird because it's a dragon
There we go.
goblin
It's
anyway.
half dragon, half goblin.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we should dehumanize goblins?
Missed that
What you
too.
just
A
said.
lot of
Yeah, we should
dragons,
humanize
goblins,
goblins.
kobolds. There was a lot of that joke last week.
Nice. So my meme that I sent to the chat fit in.
That did.
It really did. I thought I the meme fit so well. I thought you were there. Really did. Because it was so on theme.
All right. So, you open the door to the temple of Alatrari's cleric, the high cleric. Pull up the notes here. I got scrolled way further than where it was supposed to be.
Elnaro Vaspalas.
There we go. Yeah, Elnaril. And in there was a tiefling who Ulthion doesn't recognize, but Trin does recognize as Izmina. She is a light olive-skinned tiefling with like these dark purple robes and a staff. And she's kind of just sitting at the desk or the private study and just kind of flipping through some books that are on the table. And as you enter the room, she stands up and starts walking over to you. And Ilnarel introduces her as Mina to you, Ulthion. So she gets up and walks over. And she goes, It's very lovely to see you once again, Trin, and it's a pleasure to meet yours, Ulthion. I've heard much about you.
Funny running into you here. What seems to be going on? Normally you're not someplace without a purpose in mind.
I seem to be at a disadvantage. Who are you?
You are at a disadvantage. I'm a warlock, servant of the Lady Glacia. And I'm here with some pertinent information about her mother, and, well, the High Cleric here thought that I should pass this on to all of you at the same time.
Oh, Leon, she's been an ally to the cause in the past, so... you may be a little trepidatious, but her info's been good.
I'm well read on the dealings of Glacia and the rest of the Hells.
Yeah, well, it was thanks to us, and, well, primarily her efforts that we were able to locate the others in hell. It's her work that made it all happen.
Oh. Interesting. Well, then how can we help you?
You can't. I'm here to help you. So the High Cleric just kind of closes the door and urges you all to go in and just kind of take a seat on one of the chairs that he has in the room. And he walks around the back of the desk that she was sitting at and sits down, and she kind of walks up around beside and sits on the edge of the desk, kind of looking directly at the two of you. Well, the lady would like us to not necessarily be allies, but she wants to assure parties involved, those being, I guess, the Blood Elves and so on and so forth, that you can take this information back to the rest of the Silver Choir if you'd like. But she'd like you to know that Takesis is frustrated, absolutely angry, and obsessed with crushing those individuals who are responsible for the interruption of her, I guess, machinations and her escape from hell.
do believe she's talking about our friends.
Yeah, well, I suppose that makes sense. I can't say it's a huge surprise. It kind of just confirms things that we probably already had suspicions about.
Hmm.
I can't imagine it went over well down there.
No, it didn't. She wasn't at all pleased with what happened, and neither was Asmodeus, as she was supposed to deliver to him an extraordinarily powerful new type of devil that would help them turn the tides in the blood wars, using draconic magic and old bloodlines and so on and so forth to make this new concoction that they dreamt up called the Avishai, and then Thunder Dangerous put a complete and absolute stop to that. Ever since then, Asmodeus has been unhappy with his Queen of Hell's dealings overall.
So all that kind of fell off because I know that Locke was telling us, and so was Katarina, that they came across some of these, for lack of a better word, abominations.
Well, with the facility underneath Rivergate completely destroyed and Riven driven from the research that he was in charge of, it's more or less lost at this point. He's the
Well-
only one that knew the process, and though he is alive, his connection and his ability to draw on her powers directly in order to make them has been severed.
Oh, thanks to gods for little blessings.
I agree.
But, so the lady wants us to know that for a specific reason, short of job well done.
No, she wants you to know that A, job well done, but B, you're not going to have to worry about Hell's part in this. But also at the same time, Asmodeus isn't going to go out of his way to stop her from escaping. Her chains were broken, she is free, and she is tyrannically ruling over the first layer of Beator. She has dethroned the rightful ruler, imprisoned her, and is now wildly throwing temper tantrums, the likes of which none have ever seen.
So he's not like punishing her for falling short on her promises.
It doesn't seem to be the case, at least not at the moment.
Jeez. Well, I'm kind of getting there might be a little bit more to this, and you being here than just telling us to watch out for the likes of her. Like, you've always been a little cagey historically as far as the lady's desires. It just seems to happen to work out that our interests have aligned.
The Archduchess has her own internal issues that she's working out with at the moment. It seems that the pit fiend Hizit was only one of a few different players who were attempting to overthrow her and replace her as the Archduchess of Malbolgia.
Well, again, thanks for the information to help the group stop, is it? In that regard, but so that was affected, but I guess as other devils doing what devils do and their machinations to overtake one another, constantly infighting.
Yes. Basically, Hell is a little bit too busy right now to be worried about stopping Takesis. Ultimately, if she gets back to the surface and kills a bunch of people, it's just more souls and fuel for the blood war. Ultimately, Hell doesn't have any place to play in it.
Are we thinking that she has any significant routes to do this, short of things that have already kind of been alluded to? The crown? As I like kind of like look at it, trying to read her. The crown?
Oh, and they're very close to finding it.
How do they know they're close when they have some loose ideas as to where it is? Or do they have something more specific?
I don't know. You would have to ask them.
So you said Asmodeus is unhappy, but still not acting against her. What about your patron?
Like I said, her court is in disarray. She's dealing with her own internal issues at the moment. Glacia has gone through me to give you information that they've recovered and their understandings of the situation. Takesis is actively attempting to rise and escape. The question is, how can she accomplish it? Will she accomplish it? And whether or not the Cult of Domination can put together the answers that they already have necessary to do so. They don't know that they're sitting on the answer. And my lady, unfortunately, wasn't extraordinarily forthcoming with what that was. I assume being very careful about where spies might reside. Or she doesn't have the answers herself either. And
Were
nobody
those her
does.
exact words, sitting on the answer?
Possibly. It's her understanding that they have, collectively, all the information that they need to find it. They just haven't put all the proper pieces in the proper order to do so.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well,
They
not
have
that they have
archaeological excavations. The Cult of Domination is overturning every piece of draconic ruin and temple and places of worship that they can in order to find the information where it is. I wish we knew exactly where it was laid to rest.
The High Cleric's still here, right?
Hmm?
Elnaro, do you make anything of this? Anything perhaps we might be missing?
Aside from the fact that we know that we made the dragon orbs that were forged here using magic that has unfortunately just passed beyond, or hidden or wiped from memory. We know just about as much as everybody else does. That this dragon's crown was representative of her right to rule on Tiamat's behalf. It granted her divine power, and as a part of that, was used in the sealing ritual which bound her to the first layer. But ultimately, where it was hidden, nobody knows, and even the Metallic Council has come up with zero. If there is a dragon alive, or somebody who knows a dragon, or learned from one that would have the answer, then they're staying far away from prying eyes at this point. As for the Hells, as I've suspected, their involvement is as much as an internal squabble between family members and isn't viewed as a greater threat to themselves. Again, if Takesis escaped, she's a problem for the mortal realm, but she's not a problem for Hell.
Yes.
But having it confirmed that we completely stopped her efforts to breed a devil army, which would have been extraordinarily difficult to stop, is good news for everybody.
Yeah, especially considering I imagine that army specifically would be a number of pieces in her plan for world domination once she did escape. I would imagine. The affairs of devils and all.
I was planning on passing this information on to the Metallic Council, just to further reinforce the idea that Takesis is actively working to escape. They wouldn't be able to come by this information in any other way.
They may consider these Abishai, as you called them, a direct act against dragonkind in general.
Either way, they might. They might have to take the issue up with the Chromatics. As for my understanding, the information provided by Esmina, they were basically capturing and kidnapping Dragonborn from all across the Shattered Coast and twisting them into these foul creatures and incubating them to turn them into powerful magic-resistant warriors.
Well, I think we know what's going on, but I can't help but imagine that it'd probably work out similar to everything else. Oh, that was one chromatic dragon acting, going off the rails, and we're not on with him. He just happened to make these horrific abominations. And then they just play it off the way they play everything else off, not wanting to declare official war and playing their little strategic games.
But if they can prove that this was a direct order from Takesis to Riven, Riven is tied to the Cult of Domination. And that ties the cult of domination to any other dragons that have affiliation with them. It is one more piece that could be used against them as leverage. Ismina, could you possibly provide us with any kind of instruction or proof that Takesis was in communication with Riven? And she kind of stands up and like flicks back her hair. Possibly, I can check in with the Archduchess and see if maybe any of the imps and loyalists and low-level devils that were assisting Takesis, she might have spies in her courts. Maybe we could get such documentation or such proof ourselves to provide on.
We do have Riven at the site of Takesis' attempted escape.
Or maybe they could go to, I don't know, I know there's devils that document shit and write it all down. Maybe they can steal something. The word of an emperor or a devil at that matter probably wouldn't make much of a difference, but something written down that's formalized, that could make the difference.
Or proof of these Abishai.
All the evidence of their creation was unfortunately destroyed with Rivergate when the keep was destroyed. So we have no physical evidence left. We do have physical evidence of a hellish incursion, but that would probably more than likely just be seen as a response to, as they were welcomed there, that's what his forces were saying as they were being destroyed by Glacia. Their war machine did crash into the city. It's being recovered and worked on as far as we're aware. But what you might find, with the right amount of leverage and the right promises, the Archduchess is not at all on friendly terms with her mother. And wants nothing more than to rid herself of this infiltration that's found its way into her court on either her mother's behalf or someone else's behalf.
Well, I don't take comfort in it, but I guess it's nice to know that we have not necessarily an alliance, but a common enemy with Hell.
No rebellion considers who's at play is something to be thankful for.
Agreed.
So yeah, if she wants to fuck off her parents or whatever, I'm all for it.
Well, if you have a suitable gift or offer for the Archduchess, I'm sure she'd be open to it for information or spies. Either way, I continue to serve her, and I will send you what information she feels is pertinent for you to hear.
What historically have I been involved in any like offerings or gifts or anything like that?
No.
Oh. So, since you know us so well, maybe you could give us a little insight as to what kind of gift might be appropriate. Are we talking house plants, snacks, a home cooked meal? Are we talking about a child soul or something more nefarious like that?
Magical artifacts and such are always welcomed in the 9 layers. But yes, souls would also be acceptable.
The defeat of a particular enemy would work as well.
Possibly.
Well, aren't a lot of the enemies in hell? Doesn't that make it a little difficult to defeat a particular enemy?
If all of Glacia's enemies were in Hell, then she wouldn't need agents like Ismina.
And if Takesis escapes, that makes her an enemy on your plane of existence.
Yeah, that's
because ultimately, let's keep in mind that Takesis has been imprisoned and on house arrest in Avernus underneath Glacia, Asmodeus, and all the other archdevils' thumbs, and they've been able to lord it over her for thousands of years. That changed when her jailer was switched and turned and she released her shackles. Now Takesis rules an entire lair and is on the council, tearing up and causing issues with all the archdevils. She's upending everything, including, more than likely, the Archduchess's own plans to rise in power and rank.
Is it just that she's like that strong? I don't think that, if she's upsetting all these other archdevils, they just kind of put her in her place, especially after so long of her being like held down and them
Perhaps that's another history lesson, Trin.
We're delving into politics that don't matter to any of you at the moment. If she escapes, dealing with Takesis would be a benefit to all.
That's true, but like, are the other enemies like good guys, like only people, or like other enemies on the material plane? I'm just following that line of thinking.
Other cults,
Oh!
other worshippers. Devils derive their power from the souls that they collect through the worship of their cults.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So let's say, as a good gesture, a cult of Mephistopheles that existed in Conewald were to suddenly disappear, the lady would be rather grateful.
Oh, I'm much more for that than like a child soul or like killing a good guy.
Yes, killing a good guy. And she
Seems
just
a
kind of
bit
looks down at the
obsessed with
floor.
these children's souls.
Well, I'm just saying that I just figured that the devils like the children's souls being pure and innocent and all that.
No, that's not how that works at all. All
Oh, that's
souls are
just a rumor?
corruptible. No, what devils really have a taste for are the uncorruptible. She kind of looks over at Ulthion. They take pleasure in the torment and changing of one's values.
At least they
I
assume
thought-
they take pleasure in it. It's never happened.
I thought she was gonna like intimidate me and be like goblin soul.
Not out of this temple.
Maybe not out of this temple. Maybe not. Also, it might make things difficult for Takesis to, let's say, keep her court in order and manage an entire global spanning war on the material plane if, let's say, her opposer and ruler, or once ruler of Avernus, was freed.
Ulthion
So if
can
you were to
interpret.
find some way, let's say, to get back to the plane of Avernus and free Zariel from her now prison, Zariel would be able to organize a coup, and it would just be one more problem that Takesis has to balance. Maybe weakening her sight, her perspective, even her total power. Who knows? Any number of things could happen.
More information on Takesis, her whereabouts, and her enemies means more avenues for attack.
Ultimately, Takesis is just trying to secure her power base right now through intimidation and conquest.
Don't mean to be rude, Ismina, but I don't think we plan on utilizing any hellish alliances.
Short of this one.
This is no alliance. This is mainly a conversation between two people with a
An
like
exchange of
enemy.
information.
Mm.
Either way.
I
I
do
should
thank you,
report
though.
that then to my lady. And then you guys see this small little creature with these like wings and stuff kind of just appears in the room, and it walks up to Ismina just out of nowhere. This thing just appears there, and it just speaks in Infernal to her, and it holds up this old, worn, like leathery looking parchment and hands it to Ismina, and she grabs it and reads it. Well, it seems as though my time is up. The Archduchess calls me back to Malbolge. Good day, good evening, and best of luck moving forward. You might hear from me again, Trin. I should be stopping by the headquarters of the Silver Choir in the near future.
Oh, send word for them to expect you.
Mhm.
It's always a pleasure, if not a little unsettling.
Hmm.
Well,
Either way. And she kind of traces her fingers in the sigils in this like kind of greenish ink, and then a portal just kind of slowly tears in this space, and through it this heat and like warmth and stench just kind of pours through, and she just steps through this dimensional door and disappears.
you might want to get some like acolytes to do some cleaning.
And that's exactly what Elnarel does as he reactivates the protective runes and sanctifies kind of the space where they were. A temporary measure, of course, to allow communication and free travel.
What is that? I'm gonna check
Trust
the
in your
corners.
wisdom.
Sometimes little things sneak through when she's around. As I like go and I start checking the corners of the room for like little invisible imps and stuff.
Okay.
It's always a problem. Pests. Pests.
Well, what do we think then?
I think that was pretty interesting.
It's good news.
It is.
It's all I heard.
It is good news. It is something that was brought up in the council as to whether or not we would have to contend with hell or the greater machinations of Avernus, and it seems that at the very least they'll stay out of our way.
They seem to be content with dealing with their own internal devilish machinations as usual.
Yeah, devil's this and devil's that. They're annoying. It's hard to keep track. They always got so much going on.
I appreciate your stance on that.
Well,
Their games are long and measured in millennia, not hundreds of years, and definitely not decades.
I will say this, her info's always been good in the past.
That's good to know.
I wouldn't trust her entirely because she's still at the will of her patron.
She seems to at least be transparent.
That's very true. Unless that's what she wants us to think. But
Most warlocks, even those who make deals with other powerful creatures, they tend to maintain their own autonomy, their own drives. Most of the time, it seems that patrons don't tend to try to lean too heavily on unless there's something else going on behind the scenes, some other driving force. But most of the time, devilish pacts are, I guess, innocent enough.
I will
Since
say,
most archdevils and such don't bother with making pacts. They've already reached almost the apex of what they're possible. Mostly succubi and cambions and lesser devils that are more willing to make pacts, and they have very little sway that they can hold over. Ismina must be an exceptionally gifted individual, though, if she was able to get a pact from Glacia herself.
well, she must be exceptionally gifted. Well, historically speaking, and then on top of that, maybe it's the pack powers, but most people can't just step from the material plane and into hell and back, just willy-nilly.
Actually, it's quite easy to step into Avernus. It's much harder getting out.
Once again, the resources at the disposal of an Archduchess of Hell, I'm sure there's a portal device on the other side that would allow her to connect to and through. But the only reason that the portal worked is because I had removed the protective glyphs and runes that allowed this transportation to take place.
Yeah, but like I said, the information's good. I just wonder what she meant by sitting on top of the answer. Like, I know what she meant, but I can't help but wondering if there is a little hint in there.
It didn't sound like they knew either, honestly.
Maybe that's what they want us to think.
If they knew, what Glacia would more than likely just have had Esmina tell us.
Well, yeah, but yeah, maybe they just want us to think that they know, but they don't really know.
I know that it's easy to see devils as everything they do has an ulterior motive, but ultimately they're bound by various different forces at play. It's more than likely, if she told us this, that she means it. We're not interfering in her processes in hell. She's not interfering in our processes in the material plane.
Devils don't tend to align against, against the church. At least not here.
They tend to be crafty, underhanded, for sure, when it comes to the pursuit of souls, but quid pro quo, the information is usually sound, especially coming from a warlock.
And if I get to go to Cornwall, which is already on my itinerary at some point,
What are you looking at?
I watch.
A what?
Watch. It helps me tell the time of day. It's a gnomish contraption.
I guess I've never really looked at it.
I don't actually
Is that
have
annoying
one.
ticking? Well, you don't have one.
No, I don't have one. The ticking is a nervous thing.
Gotcha.
It's just I've seen gnomes do it, and so I was
Well, perhaps we should get you one.
Well, this concludes my business with you, Ulthion, unless you have something else to go over with me. I believe Venerate Lawmaster Sevathur was also waiting for you to arrive.
Yes, I appreciate the relaying of the message. Had I run into Yasmina anywhere but in your presence, I probably would not have trusted what she was saying. At least not.
I
sure.
agree.
But
Yeah, because I'm chopped liver.
Well, compared to the High Priest of Alatrari,
Well, it's a step down, but it's a little step down. All right?
yes, you can only handle little steps.
That is true. Small goblin feet.
Thank you for allowing me to bring Trin along with me, by the way.
Well, his presence was requested. It seems as though Yasmina was already aware that he was here on the Erador.
That's unsettling.
That is a bit unsettling.
Again,
We're warded against scrying magics and the like, and yet somehow we've been caught unawares more than once.
Well, let's just hope it was just her, and that's not common, I guess is the way to say it. Like, you know what I mean. I'm feeling weird. Anyway, but it's good that you got this information before you go talk to, because they believe you saying, and maybe it backs up some of the stuff we were talking about a little bit.
Right. Yeah, the Venerate Lawmaster. He is aware that I am here.
he is made aware that you were here when you requested the council to convene.
I assumed as much, just wanted to make sure.
You are the only other Lawmaster on the Erador at the moment. All the others have been dispatched to different areas and different places. Most of them have been dispatched to the Phoenix Gate.
Well, that explains the quietness of the library.
I just figured that was elves. Studious.
Well, I don't think I'll take up much more of your time, Anarl. It was nice seeing you, however. And I will think on what the council said. It's hard not being angry at them. I know your stance, but I can't help but feel they are blinded by their need to cling to the past.
Well, I guess we all could convince them to do as though our moon elves cousins have done.
Honestly,
You're not wrong. Erador will eventually, if we don't find a better way, be pulled into the spell destruction that we wrought ourselves with our magic. But 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, possibly. Takesis and our dark elf cousins are threats that we can't manage at the same time currently.
Yes, I just don't understand. As long-sighted as we are, 1,000 years is... My son could be there when it happens.
He
Shouldn't
could
that be enough to stop it?
But he won't have that chance if we miscalculate where our troops go and
That's
how
true.
we spend our resources.
That is true. Well, I won't keep you. I'll go speak to the Venerate Lawmaster.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
We will pass on your information to the general as we promised, and we will see what he returns with and how we will be capable of waging a war on two fronts or not. But it's more than likely that we will just continue to prepare for a dark elf invasion and attempt to find out whether or not it's a true threat.
The council will do what it said it will. Of that I have no doubt. Well, good day, and may the light of the long day. May the light of the Seldarine bless you.
The light of the Seldarine bless you as well, Lawmaster.
And you. And you.
Well done, Trin. To Savathor. Lead the way.
Mm-hmm.
The Sabathor. I turn and I start walking a direction.
A direction?
I lead
Like
the
out?
way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like out? Okay.
Yeah.
I follow him, even if he's going the wrong way.
So Trin gets lost for at least 3 minutes, before ultimately finding the way out, and you're out in the courtyards and the small like glades and forests that kind of surround the council chambers and the library and the Temple of Eltrari.
You know, that's something I've always said. Elves, the one failure in their society is a lack of signs.
As you exit the building, though, a blood elf is waiting outside, and she's patiently sitting on one of these small single like benches that are out there.
Mhm.
And she looks up and she sees you, and she stands up, walks right over to you. You are sure that you recognize her, but it has been a while since you've last seen them or visited that family for any reason whatsoever. So she walks up to you. Lawmaster, I was told that you recently came back from Gwinnett. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, I'm Felivas Loranen.
I recognized the Loranen.
Is
Apologies, it's been a while.
Yes, it has been some time, and I have only been in charge of the house for the last 10 years or so. I've been checking with... I checked with the last Lawmaster that came in. I'm hoping that you've come up with any form of artifacts or anything that relates to my family and our lineage. I've heard that Lawmasters have been returning to Eridor, and I've been keeping tabs as best as I can. But...
You know, I just might have. Though, I should warn you. It was brought along with me, but it is not physically in my possession. We may need to convince a large and loud Goliath. Perhaps you should look at it.
So you do think that this might have been made by my great-great-great-grandfather?
He's in the possession of an elven storm sword, Gwendolyn.
I believe I've seen the name of such a weapon in our family's history, but it's a very minor enchanted weapon, not of incredible importance to us, but either way, I'm sure that you're aware that our house has taken significant hits to our reputation and such with mismanagement with the last generation or so of elves and under the previous patriarch of the family. And I'm looking to attempt to just rebuild our house's reputation and rediscover our great-great-grandfather's means by which he made such master-crafted weapons.
Well, in the eyes of a lawmaster, that reputation died when the last patriarch did. So if you are now in charge, I welcome you and I will help however I can.
I hope you understand that through this, there may be a chance for us to rediscover the ancient arts that led to the Oath Sword's creation, the 7 of them.
Actually, if we tell Godric that, he might be a bit more willing.
We only have 2 of 7 in our possession. If we could once again make more, it would be incredibly useful for the war coming.
You should appeal to his love of smithery and smithing.
It's actually true. If you were allowed, even briefly, just to witness your work, the work of your clan, family, then I think that would also help a great deal. But, as far as I'm concerned, I'm on your side and would be more than willing to help procure the item for you.
I just wonder how they lost it. Oh,
Story for another time.
gambling debts.
Not likely.
Only time knows, really. Weapons are made, they're gifted, they're taken by others, they're distributed to other houses, other leaders, they're made for ritual needs, they're any number of reasons a sword could have been misplaced, taken, lost, or stolen from our lands.
Well, depending on your time frame, I have another meeting to get to, but if you wanted to stop by my villa, you could speak to this Goliath yourself. Let him know I sent you, and tell him that I've called him a ticklefoot. And he'll know.
There's a warforged there. You should probably make sure it's present. Tends to level him out a little bit. He's very passionate.
I feel it might be a bit improper and scandalous for me to be showing up at your city home without
Yes.
you being there.
It could be worse if I was there. But I understand. Is there somewhere you'd rather us go?
I will tell our family stewards to expect an arrival with you, with the Goliath and the artifact, and make it known that this is business moving forward, and you're to be expected to arrive there.
All right. That'll work.
All right. Well,
Thank
Blessings be upon you, Lawmaster. I look forward to hearing from you.
you. And I'm glad you sought me out.
Yes. All right. Good day then.
Blessings.
She turns and walks down the path towards the stairs that lead down from the temple.
Look at that, Trin. Had I not told you to lead us, we would never have found her.
That's true, but she's really reserved, scandalous, showing up at your house with the permission, but without you there. That's interesting.
There are a lot of customs you might not understand here.
Yeah, I'd hate to imagine what things would be looked at if you were doing something like actually like wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Culturally, it's scandalous and wrong to show up at a house without permission or even with permission. But you know what I mean? Like traditional, like outside culture, where you're like a jerk, where you steal something, where you break in without permission, or I don't know, something worse, like I don't know,
Honestly,
treating someone poorly,
a lot of that crime doesn't happen here.
battery,
Or if it does, we know it's centered around the marketplace.
mugging.
I think I've had to deal with the mugging in quite some time.
Anyway, you're gonna be late.
Can't be late. Didn't schedule an appointment.
That's true.
But yes, I will lead the way this time to Sevathor's chambers.
Okay.
His office.
Yes, you go ahead and lead the way. I was appreciating my scenic route, but really, it is taking quite some time.
It was nice. I do love wandering these holes.
Yes, it was nice.
So,
Pick up accents quickly.
you push open the doors, and once again, it has only been a few months since the last time you set foot inside the library of Ulthion, but the sight is always wondrous every time. Just this massive library, just stacked to the roof, filled with books, thousands of scrolls, hundreds of accounts of individual elves through thousands of years of ruling, living, fighting, dying, and loving. All of it's here. Most of Blood Elven history can be perused through, aside from the most valuable pieces of artifacts, books, or tomes that are kept safely behind locked doors underneath the protection of the venerate Lawmaster and the guards who serve as lower ranking versions or Lawmaster aspirants. Spend time as guards working here as you did when you were young. It's all a great glass canopy over the top of like a rose color just shines down through the center of this great hallway. Polished marble-like elfstone floors of like almost a brownish yellowish hue, just marked with all sorts of enchantments that help keep them clean, help keep them smooth, help elves find direction. They may even do something as take a speech command to bring a book to an elf who might be in another section of this massive structure. Dozens of acolytes are polishing or replacing scrolls and books, or following another elf, maybe a researcher or an artisan or somebody who needs to find a layout or an artifact that needs to be recreated, remade, or they're there to store documentation of such great works so that they can be redone again. And you walk straight down through all of that into a large circular chamber, where from there leads to these additional side chambers and side rooms, which are basically private reading areas. Overall, it feels very much like being in the libraries in the high towers of sorcery and magic in Yabal Alari. They seem to have similar traits and similar features to them, similar design, similar aesthetics, but it's still different, and there's a different gravity and air to the chambers as you're walking through them. Every step feels like it's an important step being taken, working towards something, or it's made with the same kind of care that you might when stepping through brush to avoid detection.
Have care, Trin. This place is special even amongst elves. It's the birthplace of Alatrari.
The birthplace of... literally the birthplace of Alachari? Or like the figurative, emotional birthplace of Alachari?
What if I told you it was both?
That would be confusing. And I would not understand what you meant.
Well,
if you were to say that.
I do take delight in your confusing actions, but no, it is both. Through the ideals and thoughts and pains of the elves, Alatrari was born here.
Every once in a while, an acolyte will walk by and bow very deeply. Lawmaster, welcome home. Welcome back. So on and so forth.
Every time that happens, no matter what I'm in the mid-sentence with Trin, I stop, turn, return the bow, and then turn back to Trin and keep talking. We should probably get moving. That's going to get really annoying.
Yeah, your back's probably going to start hurting after doing that too much.
No.
Is that why you don't spend too much time here?
I have a very strong back. I'm used to carrying Thunder Dangerous.
So as you continue walking, you leave basically the library in the front facing and what would be called like basically the public access part of the library. Going through a set of large dark wood and ironwood reinforced adamantine doors, you open up into basically a large chamber where there are several blood elves that are practicing martial weapons with pole arms and with swords, shield, and calisthenics, and a few of the senior trainers and weapons masters will be in the room with them, going through their studies. And unlike the previous chamber, though, they acknowledge that you're there, but they don't stop what they're doing. They just continue on training. These gliding ballet of perfect martial prowess with hundreds of years of training to get to the point where they are in this exceptionally deadly dance and art form. The art of blade singing, which has been lost for thousands of years, was birthed from Gondolin and the High Elves and their expert blending of magic and swordsmanship all together. Past that, you come to the private chambers, the sanctum, where in front of the visage of Alachari, the three separate versions, one that represents justice, one that represents war, and one that represents vengeance. All three of those aspects, each embodied in a separate statue, kind of looking down this room with this piece of almost reddish-hued light that just comes down from this crystal in the roof of the building. In there in the chamber is, you recognize the Venerate Lawmaster, and he's speaking to not giving a sermon, more giving wise counsel to some younger blood elves who are kind of sitting on their knees with their weapons across their laps, and they're very carefully listening to the wisdom and to the teachings of Alatrari. And you recognize that he's going over specific verses about the duty of all elves to Alatrari, to the fall, and to specifically the War of Sorrow, as it seems to be a pertinent piece of discussion happening amongst blood elves at the moment. And he's going over how it is that the Seldarine has an open wound that it cannot just be ignored, it must be tended to. And the way that we tend to it is by keeping the culture strong and by remembering the past and working to rebuild it and once again bring the Dark Elves, either through force or through reason, out from underneath the wolf's control and out of the darkness, back to the light of the Seldarine.
I'll find a good spot in the Venerate Lawmaster's lecture to interrupt.
Mm.
Remember, young ones, those lost from us during the War of Sorrows are still ours, and though their blood must be spilt, it is one day the hope that they would return to the fold, that Loth would be defeated, and in that way, Alatrari is a god bringing about their own end. Once we are reunified, there will be no use for it.
After you say that, the Lawmaster just kind of basically ends the discussion and sends the students out of the room, who kind of leave, and they all bow to you and give their they more or less just acknowledge your presence there as a whole. They don't dawdle, but they're just very quick. They just bow and they head into the chambers to continue sword practice, more than likely, based on the weapons. But the Venerate Lawmaster, the leader of your order as a whole, your commander, your personal friend and mentor, kind of comes up to you and throws out in Elven would look sort of like, almost like it's a greeting between peers, but it's not. It's the equivalent of a human handshake, but instead of being side to side, it almost looks like a high five, but it's done more direct. And then you guys just kind of touch each other's pecs, and it's a sign of acknowledgement between two individuals who might consider themselves peers, even though he is technically a rank well above where you are at the moment.
Keeping my hand on his shoulder right there,
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see you.
Yes, that was well said.
Well,
Oh, my
I
dear.
was taught by one of the best.
Oh, you don't mean me, right? You mean Soraya. She was,
No.
of course, one of my greatest students.
One of the best.
One of the best.
This is Trin Twilight, a member of the Silver Choir and a personal friend of mine.
So this extremely, he's got like this extremely, like, deep dark brown hair and this kind of tannish complexion, but you can see that he has these almost jade-like irises and this imposing figure, and he's tall and slender, and he's a little bit taller than even Ulthion is as an elf. And he kind of just walks over to you and reaches down to shake your hand.
Good meeting you. Hello. Reach up.
You may refer to me as Sevatur or Glendrath, whatever works for you.
So, Sevendor. I'm Trin. I'm a lore walker with the Silver Choir.
Ah, I see. It's been quite a long time since we've had anybody from your order within the lands of Eredor, at least to my knowledge. I mean, you never know. The foreign district is always filled with individuals coming and going.
Yeah, well, from the sounds of it, you've done a pretty bang-up job of fighting for the cause independently. The cause of doing good and righteousness and all that kind of stuff.
Tren, you can speak to him as if you are familiar. There's no need for platitudes here.
Oh!
As you will find that within the library, despite our titles as law masters, we tend to be more cultured than the other blood elves who never leave Eredor, as we spend more time outside of our kingdom than most other elves ever do.
Oh!
In the search of greater knowledge and the recovery of artifacts and the history lost to us long ago.
So, Ulthion's travels and expeditions are not entirely unique unto him, as far as law masters and such would go.
There are certain aspects of why he leaves and does what he does that are his own. Most of those revolve around some specific prophecy that was spoken, supposedly at the birth of our god, Alatrari.
Not supposedly.
Yes. See what I mean?
Sore subject. Yes, I
Not
see what you
necessarily
mean.
a sore subject, but a point of contention that's lost on later generations of blood elves.
Most of the lawmasters travel to find bits of old information, spells, plans, recipes, scrolls, history, the like, and they bring it back to
Like-
the library.
Like familial stuff, like
Sort
what we're
of.
just dealing
It's
with.
similar, but a bit different. She was not a lawmaster.
You know, it's almost a little embarrassing. All the talented elves, swordsmen elves. Sorry, all the talented swords people. It's a little embarrassing because they seem really talented and good, and I kind of cut corners with my sword that fights for itself.
You don't have a lot of time to spend like we do.
I guess that's true.
You cut as many corners as you need as long as you're victorious.
Okay, well now I have permission. But yes, it's an honor that you welcome me into this sacred birthplace.
That was perfect.
Hmm.
Give him a quick lesson on the way here.
I see.
We have much to talk about, though. Would you prefer
We
here
do.
or somewhere more private?
I believe here is private enough.
Of course.
You, myself, your friend, and Alatrari listening.
Yes. Where to even begin? I've only been gone 2 months, but you know of what's been going on with this group of adventurers, Thunder Dangerous, yes? And the Dragon Orbs.
I was informed very recently that the dragon orbs were in fact not destroyed as the dragons believed they were, as I believe they were agreed to be, and
Right.
was interested to hear that. The Metallic Council was also found it interesting that they weren't destroyed. They feel that, from what I understand, they feel that they were betrayed by somebody who kept them around for some reason, and they're working vigilantly to discover who was responsible for hiding the dragon orbs and not destroying them.
I see it as a betrayal too, but ultimately it may yield very positive results. Takesis is, well, an insidious force. As the cult of domination moves and each vies for returning her to the material plane, I can only imagine what kind of terror she would wreak. So, I for one am glad the orbs are still here.
Yes, maybe the gods were at work. Maybe Bahamut showed some wisdom unto one dragon and told him not to destroy them. Who
There
knows?
Yes. We still need to find the location of the crown. That is eluding us.
That information was lost to all, I fear.
Oh, but maybe Takesis.
I believe if she knew where it was, she would have already told her people how to find it.
Right, but I think she has a better idea than we do.
Possible.
Honestly, though, that's not why I'm here, Sav. I've been having visions, and it was mentioned that the other lawmasters are as well.
It has been communicated that a few different versions of the same event have been seen from the perspective of each individual lawmaster. Each one represents an important facet of their lives or some important facet of their mission.
Interesting. Mine was shown from the perspective of a boy on a beach when the black sails arrived. I struggle to see how that is part of my perspective.
If you've heard a few of them and you line them up, do they complement one another? Like maybe if you put them all together like a puzzle, it might explain and give deeper insight into what's going on.
Interesting.
It doesn't seem to be the case so far. Yours would be the last piece.
Well, there is
Seems to be very individualized.
not quite another vision, but an accompaniment to that vision. I was given a message, and I'm not quite sure who it was from. A tiefling stopped me as I was walking by and said that a great doom follows me, and that it will be the end of my people.
And do you think this doom has yet to come or has passed?
I do not think it has passed yet. I do not even know where it was from, so I cannot speak to the validity of that statement. It could have been a threat. Or something. I don't know.
A warning, maybe?
Yes.
Based on the dealings and the missions that we gave you, there may be some other force that was interested in possibly trying to sway you away from investigating further. Could it not have been Takesis herself, through one of her agents, or another's agents?
That is how I see it. It was a bit unsettling, and Alatrari and the Seldering usually find much different ways to communicate with me. But it was leaving me a little bit confused about my next move. And I'm sure you've heard of what transpired with the council, but they're blind as always, Sav.
Well, you know, Ulthion, that I already tried to convince them that you should take my place as Venerate Lawmaster after I am gone. But they do not agree that you're the right choice. They don't believe that you represent most of the Blood Elves in your matters.
They're afraid I would shake them from the stone they've buried themselves in.
Possibly. Again, the prophecy was made a very long time ago, and most elves have lost faith in what it means and what it could mean going forward.
So what am I to do? Put it aside for now?
No, never.
The freedom of our people.
I would never ask you to sacrifice your values and your beliefs in order to take a position that you would never take under those conditions to begin with.
That is true.
If you did feel differently about it, though, or changed your mind, or something changed your mind, you would more than likely take my place. It may be possible to re-envision the prophecy and how it could come to be. Change from the in is always easier than change from without. If only you would just cooperate. You don't have to sacrifice your beliefs or ideals, but reining them in could go a far way when it comes to at least creating conflict with the other elves in their houses.
Possibly, but you said something that struck a chord for me, that I may be going about searching the prophecy the wrong way. And though I have no ambitions or pride in this matter, perhaps instead of searching for the answer to the prophecy, I simply become a tool of the prophecy itself. Why not just move forward? We are at war, and yet we still tend to lean towards the side of law when it comes to Alatrari.
Sure, we do. That is partially our responsibility. We represent the three separate aspects, and we haven't had need for either of the other two for many years. And there are very, very few Blood Elves who take on the aspect of vengeance for any reason.
Very few.
And those who do end up dying far from our shores, far from family, and living a life that a normal Blood Elf would live, as they seek out to met that vengeance against the Dark Elves.
They are our enemy, but I don't seek that vengeance. But I do think it is time for war, Seth.
I believe you are correct. In regards to the prophecy, though, you may not want to hear it. You may feel differently and feel a driving force pushing you to discover this individual. But you might have to accept that it's not meant to be you who finds the next king that unifies all elves again.
Perhaps that is true. But if it was meant to be me and I was not searching,
What
this
if
service to our people,
What if this prophecy was warning you of this very path? Maybe it was telling you that you are not meant to do this, to go forward and find them. That doing so might force the hands of the council, force the hands of the houses. It may not feel like it at times, but we very, very often come very close to civil war within our own ranks.
of course. Then I eschew not necessarily my belief in the prophecy, but my actions in it. And do what? I hear the wisdom in your words, but you don't devote hundreds of years of your life to something and then put it behind you.
No, you give it new purpose. You spoke of going to war. None of the other lawmasters have yet decided to shift their aspects and their text to that of war from law.
I plop down and I take a seat as I listen to you go back and forth. Well, prophecies are made to be fulfilled.
You're right, little goblin. We don't just speak of any prophecy that's handed to some person on the street by a card dealer. We're talking about the very fate of all elves on Terrowyn.
Yeah, you are.
You saw in that council room there was the throne with the banner across it.
Yeah, that was weird to have a throne and no one to sit in it.
Yes, it's been very weird for a very long time, Trin. That throne has not been occupied since the War of Sorrows, since both the king and the prince were killed. The prophecy would state that we would find a new king of Eredor that would unite and redeem the elves. We lost our immortality. You may have heard me speaking to Locke about that. And though we live an exceptionally long time, we don't have nearly as much of the spark that we used to have.
Yeah, I believe they even kind of seem to speak to that within the council.
What he
Yes.
speaks of is an ancient and long-standing curse of the Blood Elves.
Curse of
Sometimes
the
in common it would be referred to as the Great Sorrow.
And that's the lack of immortality, right? Or that.
It's a loss of life, a deep sadness, a depression that sometimes overtakes elves, leading them to incomprehensible depths of loss. This sometimes rolls over our lands. The very forest that surrounds this city has this potent effect on the animals and creatures that live within the realm, within the forest itself. Treants grow in dark, twisted forms. Magical beasts are twisted and irregular compared to those found in other places. Hungry.
And that's separate from the magical corruption?
You mean the
It is
spell
a magic.
destruction?
Yes.
Oh,
That's a separate thing.
perhaps I'll take you to a vantage point and show you exactly what I'm talking about.
The spell destruction is not a mysterious object, it's well understood. During the height of the War of Sorrows, as a last-ditch effort, those wizards who were left to survive to the end after the falls of the original towers of high sorcery and magic brought together all of their magic and all the power they possibly could muster for a final strike at the capital city against Lilith herself. The resulting magical explosion tore the continent asunder and sunk most of it into the ocean. What the Dark Elves occupy, and we occupy here in Eredor, is all that remains of that continent.
Oh. And so the great sorrow curse that you were talking about?
This is born, we believe, of the great sadness that the elves felt at the banishment and loss of their immortality.
Well, aren't there normally ways to break curses, or that were omens that bring around the end of curses?
Yes, and from what we can tell, putting someone back on that throne, reuniting our peoples, would do it.
It kind of sounds based on, from an outside perspective that's not thousands of years old, but it kind of sounds as though there's concerns about being redeemed and ending the curse, but because you're cursed and are currently not behaving in a way to be redeemed because you lack this spark because of the curse and stuff, that it seems like a self-perpetuating cycle. From an outside perspective.
He caught on fairly quickly to the very early teachings of Alatrari.
Sure did.
This is a guilt that comes with all Blood Elves, as well as the commitment that all Blood Elves will only reincarnate as Blood Elves on Eredor. Until we defeat the Dark Elves and reunite all Elves.
And
This is what the burden that Blood Elves carry. This permanent melancholy. It doesn't affect all Blood Elves all the time, but it does seem to permeate through our lands, in concentrated areas and places that we've studied, around our ancient and lost ruins from Gondlin.
But doesn't that then kind of call the Blood Elves to act out in a way that contradicts the curse itself?
But we don't act out at all. We act in. We defend our shores and we close our gates everywhere except for the market district. We keep to ourselves.
Well, I meant, like, acting out without, like, fighting against the bounds of the curse. Conducting yourself as though you are worthy of redemption.
And some do. Ulthion isn't a perfect example of doing so.
And so if no one's thinks that they're the ones that are gonna find this king, how's the king supposed to come about in the first place?
Yes, the great question.
He sure does. A lot of people don't want that king to come around. There have been skirmishes, infighting, as different houses vie for that very throne.
It doesn't sound like... And I know lineages are important to the Blood Elves, but it doesn't really sound, based on everything I've heard so far, that the king is as easy or simple as lineage or a certain house.
No, it would be a irrefutable chosen of the Seldarine.
The question
Specifically
is,
an irrefutable chosen of Glorindel, the one who cursed us.
the question is chosen through what means? Some believe you can conquer the other houses through force, through might, and through manipulation, and therefore be worthy. And some believe that he would rise through the ranks and meet no resistance and be unanimously chosen. That's what I believe. That the first elven king that we will have of Eredor will be an elf worthy beyond measure of what we have witnessed, that no elf would say should not sit and be king.
and within the bounds of your territories are new young elves raised with that as even a potential, or are they all just looking around waiting for one of the new generations to exemplify that? If no one thinks that they can amount to that, how are they ever supposed to rise to whatever bar is set?
Some have tried and some have claimed that they are. But they always fall short in some way.
Well, what are the values of Glorendel specifically? Like,
You ask for a much greater teaching than we're willing to give at the moment. So,
well, I
Goblin.
guess we have something to talk about in the future, Ulthion.
Sure, I'd be happy to tell. For now, just know that Glorindel is a protector, a provider, and the light of the elves. He is our father, the creator, in so many ways. It's not so much rules we have to follow as a role model we seek to become.
Well, then it doesn't really sound like the next king will be found through tyranny and usurping of houses.
Agreed.
Because that just doesn't make sense.
It's my belief that the next king is sitting somewhere, minding his own business, playing with toys and thinking of how great life is. A small village or something.
He may not even be on Eredor.
Well, we reincarnate. He's here. He just might not be.
We reincarnate as blood elves, Ulthion, not always on Eredor.
I do have a quick question, and it has to do with what you were talking about, Ulthion, when you were talking about hopefully bringing the Dark Elves back into the fold, but then Blood Elves reincarnate as Blood Elves, and then you said it almost as though you have compassion, but I've seen you face to face with a Dark Elf, and there was no compassion there.
I have compassion for the plight of the Dark Elves and for the loss that they must feel, as surely we feel it too. But on an individual level, they are simply the enemy. Until proven otherwise.
It sounds like your philosophy doesn't really drive your actions.
How did you feel about Burrup when you first met him?
I was terrified, alright? I was scared, and he's big,
Of
and
Burra.
bugbears tend to be
Yes.
bullies.
Of Burrup.
Is this some mainlander continent?
Yes, it seems there's a great amount of oppression amongst the goblins and the bugbears, one way or
see.
another. But that is my point precisely. If I've spent hundreds of years defending my very life and the lives of those I love from the Dark Elves, it's hard to see them as anything other than a threat.
Yeah, but you live hundreds of years, and I'm nowhere close to that, but I think Burrup and I are kind of friends.
Sure. Then I tell you what, Trip. If you ever introduce me to a Dark Elf whom you trust, I will give them a chance.
Okay, you heard him. You heard him. He is now bound by Lawmaster law.
Yes, surely I am.
I'll win
By
you
the way.
over. Okay, sorry. Go about fighting.
Who are
I'm
fighting?
not
Well,
fighting.
philosophizing.
It's actually fun work. Well done.
Philosophizing?
Good work.
It seems to me that the vision that you saw, much like the other Lawmasters, was meant to possibly redirect their efforts, redirect them. Each one was personal to them, a specific perspective that spoke to them and the way that they view the world, it seems.
I wonder how deep that goes.
You are worried about conflict. You see fighting in black sails. You see an invasion coming. You know that there's a dragon war looming over all of the world at the current moment. What if the doom that this whoever it was, the soothsayer or connected one, spoke to you, had more to do with the path of resistance, the way that you grind at and work against Blood Elven culture in order to change it. Maybe at this time, maybe it was saying it's time for you to fall in line,
What?
become an instrument.
And march myself to the Phoenix Gates, leave my friends to defend against Takesis on their own?
I don't think that Alatrari would like you to abandon your friends. I do not believe that your fight belongs with the Dark Elves, is what I'm saying. It's with everything else that's happening.
The child in my vision was running from the Black Sails, as you would expect a child to do, but if that perspective was of me, then perhaps I was meant to turn away from the Dark Elves for now. Focus my efforts.
All is of Alatrari's will, Glorendel's plans. The Seldarine works at every angle. You are who you are for a reason, to place you in this very specific circumstance to help the rest of the world. The Blood Elves may be stuck in their ways, but you have a long life ahead of you, but not a life that you can live if the dragons kill all of us.
It is a heavy burden to save others while my people fall. I think I begin to see some understanding in your wisdom.
I believe that we should just ask Alatrari for guidance.
Agreed.
We are here in this holy place, in the place where he was birthed, the place that he is worshipped, the place that he communicates. We should ask him directly. He will give you a sign and he will give you the answer. If you are meant to wage war from the front lines, far from the home, then he will give you the instruments to do so.
Are you suggesting a ritual of dedication like the aspirants do?
Yes. Alatrari will guide you to the aspect that most represents the needs of the Blood Elves. If yours is successful, then I will call for the return of other Lawmasters to go through the same ritual.
Well, there can be no better definition than the one given by Alatrari himself. Of course, I would acquiesce to that. Let's do it. Trent,
All right.
would you bear witness?
Yes, I will totally bear witness.
Just don't pull it out, it's impolite.
Do I gotta do anything? Is this like one of those blood rituals or?
Well, if you're going to be in the room during the ritual, it would be customary, even though you aren't an elf, to cleanse yourself. No food or drink, of course, and no weapons either. Well, you've already left those behind.
Short of my wit, I'd leave it at the door, I suppose. Do we take turns doing the ritual?
No, you would simply witness.
Oh, I just get to watch.
Either way, I shall gather some of the acolytes, and we shall begin the ritual. We will recover Soraya's wrath and many of the other items to put aside, while
Right.
Alatrari decides what direction is best for you moving forward. Under the guidance of the watchful eye of the venerate Lawmaster,
Justin, you're cute.
I don't want to play anymore. I'm done for the night. We'll
Alex
pick this up
is a
next Friday as punishment for you
horrific
being
liar.
interrupting me.
The watchful eye
You
of the
can't trust anything he
Lawmaster.
Mm-hmm. The venerate Lawmaster.
The venerate Lawmaster.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, it was
Somebody
Khalil
in the chat thinks I'm cute.
Who's this?
Well, you probably paid them to say that, so.
Yes.
One
It's
of
possible.
Justin's many suitors. One of his many Tinder matches that he
Oh yeah,
pushes
tons
the
of them.
show on. you want to see me? Come to my live stream. And they're like, are you a bot? And
What?
he's like, almost.
All right, we're getting
Almost.
we're going back to the ritual.
No.
Okay.
We need to get back to
Are
religion.
you a bot? Almost.
Yes.
Wait.
You need fucking Alatrari, motherfucker.
You don't need Alatrari.
You need motherfucking Alatrari.
You, does this
Um,
ritual get weird? Is that where you go?
No.
No.
That's
Well,
just
how would
Alex.
the goblin know?
Can it?
The goblin will
Can it
make
get
it
weird?
weird.
That's a different ritual.
You should do that
I just
ritual.
want to take a break. Quit making me laugh.
What?
It's only weird if you make it weird.
Alright, it's not weird.
The Lawmaster, Thalen in the middle, you know, me watching.
I guess culturally it's not
That's
weird.
twice
They're
that's
not there
happened.
with Ulthion.
That's twice that's happened.
twice.
It's
But
because I
tonight-
took Thalen and moved
I
the
just wanna
letters
get through
around
the
to spell Ulthion.
I just want to get through the scene. That's all I'm asking.
That's not what you did either.
No, it's not.
Why,
I'm
Angie,
sorry.
why are they
Somebody's
naked?
gonna die very soon. Okay.
Remember when he said if you guys get into combat, you did something really wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
This is it.
Combat with the
For this-
DM. He just jumps across the table.
Yeah. For this ritual, can you just imagine everyone's naked?
It might make it easier.
Oh my god, Andy.
Anyways, so after the orgy's done, anyway.
My wife is gonna be pissed.
That's
Yeah.
step one.
No, it's,
I thought you
this is a
said
part
they
of
were-
the. She understands. This is a part of the tenets of your oath.
I thought they
the
were
religion,
trying
baby.
to procreate, you know?
I didn't enjoy any of it.
Children at all costs.
Well,
Not
some
1
of it.
minute. Some of it. All right.
I'm having
Oh
fun.
my goodness.
Yeah, I noticed. And you know, your good intended humor and like upbeat spirit is really fucking with me.
I know, man. It's fucking with me too.
Well, you turn that way. You spit on Terra.
No, thank
You
you.
monster.
No, thank you.
Keep it in the hole.
No, please.
Yeah, do that. Keep it in the hole. You want to keep it just on the edge.
This is
back of
legendary
your
action. We're
chair.
glad that you could join us tonight to watch us attempt to play Dungeons and Dragons.
The back of your chair is destroying the set.
Yeah, it is.
It's fine. You order a new set?
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm
Yeah.
doing great.
It's been great.
At least you think so. So, all right. So, a few acolytes come out, about 5 of them, to assist with the ritual. 3 of them come over with this elven silken cloth, and they kind of out in their hands, and they wait for you to lay Soraya's wrath on the cloth.
I hold the glaive and look at the blade. We've gone great distances together, Soraya. I hope this isn't the end. And I'll put Soraya's wrath on their outstretched hand.
Yeah. It's only a very small moment, but for a second you feel like someone puts their hand on your shoulder as you hand it over. So the first person holds it in their hands, and the other 2 take the cloth and they fold it from both sides and cover it. And then they take it out of the room through a side chamber, another door. And then they come and they take they start taking off your armor piece by piece and basically treating it the same way, polishing the armor, cleaning it, clearing it up, and setting it at the base of the statues. Once you're basically down to your basic dress wear, your undershirt and pants and such, they come over with this small, I guess, bowl, and it's filled with this holy oil, and Sevathor takes it, and as he's speaking this religious incantation, he basically just kind of touches you on the forehead and leaves a little bit of the oil there, and then goes over to Trin and does the same thing and says the same words, just kind of puts the oil on your forehead. Then you are directed to kind of just sit on the floor in contemplation and to reach out to Alatrari in spirit and try to commune with all three of his aspects individually. And then the room gets really quiet, and all the acolytes step back, and the Lawmaster also kind of steps out of the light, leaving you just alone in this partially illuminated circle in the center of the floor, which has a large glyph of all of the primary tenets of Alatrari's religion kind of just etched into the stone on the floor. And you're given this moment. The rest of the world kind of just fades out of your perspective while your eyes are closed, and even the ambient sounds and echoes or the sounds from like the chambers nearby kind of just die out, and you're left with this peaceful moment to just speak to this deity.
Alatrari, you have given me a vision, and in my mortal shell I cannot comprehend what you are trying to teach. So I ask now that you guide me, show me how to be a leader for my people, show me how best to defend them. You know I have dedicated my very soul, my entire life to your teachings and your mission. Now I ask, I have been your hand as a lawmaster. Please tell me, what else must I become in order to carry out your will?
So one of the acolytes coughs like an asshole.
I open my eye, expecting it to be Tren. Sorry.
um, in contemplation, after you utter those final words, the room, you open your eyes and nobody's in there except for you and the statues in this empty chamber. And around you, on the edge of this glyph that they have all the rites, a small smoldering and very, very simple fire begins to run around the outside of the ring on the edge and begins to build up in intensity. At the feet of the statue, you see what looks like a version of yourself kind of staring back at you, and you're wearing your armor and all your garments and your cloak. But you're also carrying this radiating and beautifully crafted shield that has the sun and the emblem of Alatrari on the front. And then in your hand, you're carrying an elven sword, a single-bladed elven sword of ancient design. And both the statues that represent vengeance and law kind of fade out, leaving only the statue dedicated to war. And then the fire dies out, and your vision encompasses the state of the room as it is. And the venerant lawmaster, Sevathor, comes over to you and just asks you, what did Alatrari say? What were you shown in this chamber?
I was shown a visage of myself before the aspect of war. Vengeance and law were completely gone, and the visage held a shield and sword, one gleaming with the symbol of the bleeding sun on the front of the shield, and the sword ancient. I'm not quite sure. I've seen them before. It's different than the first dedication. I knew law was where I was supposed to be. We all expected me to be planted firmly at the feet of justice, but Alatrari wants me to go to war, as we suspected.
And if that is your interpretation of his vision, then that is his will. We
Well,
shall
the first
fetch you
time.
the armaments from the Holy Armory.
So it shall be. For the first time in a while, I feel light. I know where I'm supposed to go.
Alatrari has repurposed you.
When was the last time that has happened?
Since before Soraya's time.
Then I will... Probably say goodbye to Aethan one last time. I'll look over at Trin. I'm leaving with Thunder Dangerous, and I'm not coming home until we're done.
So this means you're gonna be a warrior?
In a manner of speaking, yes, I was always a warrior, but this is different. Instead of listening to the will of Alatrari and waiting to be guided, I have been pointed in a direction, and all who stand against us will fall.
So the Lawmaster calls for several acolytes who take the description of your vision and exit through the opposite door. There's about 3 doors in the chamber. And after about 10 minutes or so, they bring these objects back into the room, all covered in the same kind of cloth that Soraya's wrath was wrapped in. And they set them down at your feet. And then they, piece by piece, put your armor back on, strapping it, making sure it's secure and that the fit is tight. And then they lift up the first object, which is this large shield, and they pull the wrappings off of it. And it's exactly the shield that you saw in your vision. Etched with the holy symbol of Alatrari, the projection of the sun, and holy scripture. It's meant to ward off and protect you against evil. But within it, there's also inscriptions about being the bulwark against Eredor's enemies. and that you and your allies should find protection behind this shield. It will become the wall that keeps the enemies at bay. And then they hand it to you, and they bless it with more of the holy oil. And then the next, they lift up this single-handed weapon. They pull the cloth out, and it's this beautiful, long, single-edged elven sword with this fantastic hilt, this beautiful pommel, and it's made in an ancient style that isn't really used anymore, which dates it to probably, based on its design, to close to the fall of Gondolin. It's a relic from a long forgotten age of elven history. And then they hand it to you so that you can test its weight, test its strength and its durability, and get the feel for it. And though it has been many years since you have wielded these weapons, it's like a fish taking to water. It all comes back to you, all the forms, all the teachings, years of repetition, dozens of lessons learned, hits on the hands, the face, the head from blunted objects and weapons as your house's weapon master, who has passed long at this point, taught you over and over and over again underneath your father's tutelage to make sure that you would become the best fighter that you possibly could. As it's very similar to the style of weaponry that your father used when he was fighting against the Dark Elves in this endless, never-ending conflict between your people and theirs. And Sevithor decrees, with your new dedication, you take on the aspect of war, an aspect of Alatrari. You shall lead from the front lines. You shall be our spear's tip, and you shall destroy those enemies that would see harm to your allies, your friends, your family, and to Eredor. Go forth with the long sword, solemn duty. Go forth with the shield, virtuosity, and make war on your enemies, Ulthion Amadir, Warmaster of the Blood Elves.
Oh, shit!
Woo! I got chills.
Very good.
Oh!
Ah!
I have things.
Guinea.
I'll take this.
Ooh.
Warman. That's
All right.
a badass
All right.
title. Officially best title.
That's so cool.
All right.
I haven't got one yet.
And then,
I will.
and then
Try harder.
the ritual is pretty much over at that point. The acolytes are sent from the room to go back to their daily duties, and you're just left there with Trin and your good friend and mentor.
Sav, I can't begin to explain it. This weight is lifted. I no longer feel that remorse, that curse of our people. I feel some sort of inner joy. And my connection with Alatrari has changed. It's there, but it isn't flowing. It's crashing. Like a wave. I feel good. This is what Alatrari wanted.
He comes over and puts his hand on your shoulder. It seems that he's had a plan for you this whole time. You have a long life left to live still. And you may still once again find yourself shifting back to justice. But maybe there's some lesson or some greater thing that Alatrari needs you to accomplish on his behalf, here and now. That focus is powerful. Take it with you and use it.
I have no doubt.
You represent the best of us at the moment.
I have no doubt that where I go, so too does Alatrari.
It
What
goes
will be
with you
done?
in that blade.
Yes.
Interesting choices from Alatrari to you, but also suitable.
I will
That sword has not been used or picked up for over 3,000 years. It has sat in the armory, awaiting the right person. There is deep and hidden ancient elven magic within its blade. That is no ordinary sword that you hold on to. Spend time with it, commune with it. There's a history attached to that blade.
I will. It's different. It doesn't speak to me the way Soraya's Wrath did.
And it might not. I don't even myself. There are no records that explain what its true purpose is. We have no idea what it is capable of.
I am, dare I say, I am excited, Sav. We will, one way or another, I trust that Eredor will regain its former glory. Whether or not I am that instrument no longer matters. But what I will do with Thunder Dangerous, you should really meet them. They are... Well, each and every one of them is eccentrically different, just like Tren is. The perspective each of them have given me is sometimes laughable until I think on a more deep level about what they've taught me. I am glad my journey has not ended with them.
You were always interested in tales beyond our shores and meeting people from far-off lands, Ulthion.
I was. I am.
You've always been more open to accepting those from outside our shores and accepting to the teachings of, or at least the philosophies of other gods, other religions, and tolerant of a great many other things that most Blood Elves would never tolerate. Which is why I understood when you were tasked to leave our shores and reconnect us with our kin in Yavalari.
Yes. That
And
seems to have warranted reward. I hope that continues.
I think it's getting to know these other cultures, gods, and other people's ways that have really allowed him to discover and identify who he is and the role he plays within the Blood Elves. He's exceptional, but no less a Blood Elf than the rest of you.
Thank you, Trent.
I would never claim otherwise. But Ulthion is, and always has been, a thorn in the side of those traditionalists within our lands.
Well, you gotta be a rebel if you're gonna be a part of Thunder Dangerous. That's just how things go.
I'll have to take your word for it.
You'll see.
By the way, you found yourself in good company, it seems, and they should keep you pointed in the right direction.
You like me?
Well, maybe I point them in the right direction. At least morally. We'll see. Either way, whatever we have, it seems dysfunctional, but it works.
Well, maybe I'll meet them another time then. But from this point, I have to make my way to the Phoenix Gate to check on the other lawmasters and preparations being made for war.
Yes. Well, you will know how to reach me if you need to.
Good luck, Ulthion.
You too, Sav. It was good to see you.
It's been too long.
Always. Then I'll turn and walk out with pep in my step.
Pep in his step.
A few moments pass, and then I follow him.
Trin, a quick word. Maybe don't mention to the rest of the group that the venerate lawmaster was expecting me to take his position. I don't want them to think I see myself as above them.
Well, they're not lawmasters, so I don't think they would see you as above them.
Right, but, I don't want any strain in our relationship from nobody else has to perform to my standards.
I don't think that's entirely true. Because otherwise, I don't think you would be going with us. If you're just like, oh, you're not up to my standards and you suck.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna go find some elves to hang
Well,
out with.
I don't think we're communicating properly. Well,
I don't get why you don't want me to share that part specifically. It's not like you took the job or something. Oh, they wanted Ulthion to be this bigger, douchier bureaucrat. And he said, no, I want to go fight wars in foreign lands and kick the shit out of some cultists and stuff.
you're right, and when you frame it that way, you should tell Godric. He'll understand.
Yeah, you might score some points. He's not much one for bureaucrats and hearings and...
Well, he doesn't like bureaucrat because it's more than 2 syllables.
Well, yeah, of law people, of politicians, 2 syllables. Of those, of rulers.
Politician is not 2 syllables.
Well, it's like
Trin.
more than one.
Yes, it is more than 1.
Jeez, always a critic. But yes, I can keep certain things quiet
Well,
with a
it's
little discretion.
not supposed to be a secret, and no lies should be uttered.
Well, it kind of
amongst
feels
friends,
like a
but-
secret because you're telling me not to tell anyone.
Well, and you just don't need to. You write your book, put
Isn't that
whatever
a
you want
secret
in
of
it.
like a mission?
But what?
What? Isn't that like a secret of a mission? It's like a secret, but you don't want to admit it's a secret, and you just play it off like it wasn't a secret. You just failed to mention it.
How about you just don't write any songs about it?
About what part? The whole thing?
Oh,
I already have a song about you.
you do?
Yeah, but it doesn't include the promotion because that's brand new.
Oh, it's not a promotion. It does feel like a great honor, but it's just a shifting, more of a lateral movement.
Well, you said he's above you, so it'd be like
Oh,
a promotion.
Well, that would, yes, that's the highest rank I could ever aspire to.
So am I supposed to keep the Warmaster stuff a secret too?
No,
'Cause
that'll be pretty
he's gonna
obvious.
wonder where your fancy stick weapon went. What do you want to call it? Bardage?
Soraya's Wrath.
Soraya's Wrath,
was
that
a
thing.
glaive.
The glaive, yes,
Yes.
the glaive.
Surprised we never talked about this. Most
Well,
lawmasters carry
it's a
spears
weapon,
of some
and
sort.
It has a blade on it, and it does the cutting, and it's a stick weapon.
Oh,
a
look, as much as I'm
spear.
loving this conversation, my villa is right there.
Spear adjacent.
And I,
So you
walk
push
with
open
a longer
the
stride than
chamber.
Trin can do.
As you finally get to the doors and you like push open the chamber doors, the library, all of the acolytes who are in there have lined up the center hallway on either sides, and as you walk past them, they all give a deep bow, and then raise one at a time as you and Trin pass and go back to their assigned duties and activities, until finally you reach the exit of the library of Icklin, the front door, and are greeted by the setting sun and another beautiful coloration in the sky over the lands of Eredor. From the slightly elevated position that you're on the platform that houses those 3 important structures, you can see a large swath of the city districts that kind of stretch out from this central point. And there is a wind that kind of blows through the trees, and there's a quiet, but laid out before you is just the massive forest that is the Gloomwoods, stretching outwards into the more wild regions. And you feel like if you can focus just hard enough, that you can kind of see in your mind's eye your estate, your family estate, and your home just out past the furthest fields outside of Mendrathis, where your wife and son are waiting to bid you farewell once again.
Yes. 2 more things to do and we can leave, Trin.
Our banter aside, I know it's hard to leave your family to do something like this.
Unimaginably so.
Oh, I can imagine. Anyway, Let's get back before the city burns.
How would
Godric
this? Oh,
by himself.
Yeah.
Kinda sorta.
well, I mean, Katarina's there, so it can't be that bad.
I don't know, she was tired and she only stayed in her room when we left. And Locke seemed kinda tuned out too. He's doing that thing when he screws up and gets real hard on himself and kinda shuts down, like literally, 'cause he's kinda robotic. Like a. You know what I mean.
Well, let's get back. You're right. For all I know, the entire district is aflame. I can picture it now. Godric bursting through buildings trying to fight the fire with his bare hands. Locke laughing maniacally because it was probably his spell, and Katarina just saying, fuck it. I mean, she has been a little strange ever since, well, now I get that mortal phrase, daddy issues.
That's unsettlingly possible.
Yeah, I shouldn't have removed the conscience from Thunder Dangerous. Let's go.
So, after walking in a very short carriage ride, you end up back at your estate and you find it not burned to the ground and the district just fine, not in uproar and nobody screaming about foreigners wandering free through the city. To your relief,
It's quiet.
going through the gates, you see that everybody has been gathered to eat. Baruch made good on his deal, and he bought lots of the best food that he could get his hands on from the market, including meat and vegetables and fruits, all magically grown within the city. And you see that everybody just out at dinner in the center of the courtyard area,
Oh, thank
adjacent to the pool.
the gods! As I run up and I start run up to the table. Ow! Ow!
Mhm.
Why don't you just have a seat?
Well, I was going to. Just give me a second. Ow!
I just kind of kick the chair next to me and reach over and plop him in the chair.
Mhm.
Godric,
Yes,
you smell clean.
I was in there for a while.
Yes?
He was. I cleaned the water for you.
It was very dirty.
You get all
It was-
pruny? You all pruny?
I don't get pruny.
Ew.
I'm a fire giant. I'm just hot.
How are you still ashy?
What do you mean you don't
That's-
get pruny?
I don't.
Everyone gets pruny. I've seen Dragonborn with pruny fingers.
I don't.
Fair point.
I don't.
Katarina, it's good to see you up and
I'm
about.
ashy because that's my skin tone.
I'm feeling much better. How was
Ew.
everything?
I'm a fire giant.
Honestly, incredibly boring, a little frustrating, and then enlightening.
Oh, you went in chronological order.
Well, no, then it would have been frustrating, boring, enlightening.
Did you get what you came for?
Takesis will.
What's coming to her?
Yes.
Good. Then we're leaving.
Not yet.
Not quite. A couple things that I need to do at least. I could catch up if you need to hurry off, but I'll start by saying, if you'll have me, I'd love to become a permanent member of Thunder Dangerous.
You were already a permanent member. You're just a jerk.
No.
Perhaps
At
I
least till
will.
you die.
Accurate.
Yes, I'll stop being a jerk once I die.
Wait, you can. Oh, I thought you were going to say you were going to do that now. I was going to ask if that was possible.
But there's that.
We're working on it.
It's true. From here on out, I should be much nicer.
Did someone remove the large stick that was, sewn into your asshole?
Well, they removed the stick.
It's incredibly impolite.
It wasn't so.
Tell me I was wrong. Anybody say I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
You're not supposed to actually say it.
You asked me to say it.
I just kind of reach over and start eating food, sadly.
Speaking of sticks, there's other business. Oh,
You're. I think as Trin is ever so subtly trying to tell us, it does seem like you have new equipment.
Oh, yes, how do I explain this in a way that somebody like Godric could understand?
When did you decide to be a coward and hide behind the shield?
Oh, it's funny you say that, and I let go of the shield, and it floats over to protect you. It's so any of you can be cowards as well.
That's
Your AC
quite
temporarily goes up by
interesting.
2.
That. I retract my statement.
I'll call it back.
That's pretty cool.
Your AC drops by 2.
That's, that is actually. Why?
We're cowards together.
Interesting.
We will stay alive together.
So,
Hopefully.
Nothing cowardly about that.
to make a long story short,
Oh, that sucks.
you want to tell them everything, go ahead.
No, please. Short.
Can you never mind.
I asked for a sign from Elatrari, and the sign was given. I am no longer a lawmaster, and I have other work to do.
Did they strip you of your title?
Oh, no, I was... It was given, dropped, eschewed.
We're gonna give him a promotion and he told him to shove it.
It's not actually what
Because they're
happened.
like, you wanna be one of the council people? And he was like, no, I'm gonna be a warrior. Like my friend Godric.
Okay, I believed you up until that point.
Well, I didn't say his friend Godric, but it was implied.
Godric, many of us should aspire to be as strong as you, though we won't ever make it. It's an aspiration worth having.
Yeah,
Genetics.
talk about unreasonable
Your misunderstanding of our ways and cultures notwithstanding, what he's trying to say is that I have been rededicated. Elatrari has 3 faces, that of law, war, and vengeance, and I am no longer a lawmaster, I follow war now.
So your God put you on a new path.
Yes.
Makes sense to me.
So, it's official then. We're waging war against the dragons.
Well, it's official for me.
I'm glad we'll have a good leader.
You, right?
Absolutely.
Not in matters of war.
Oh, yes, I'll lead on the battlefield if it's wanted, but I can't lead from the front. Godric's too fast.
It's the long legs.
Yeah?
And the gigantic muscles.
Yeah, your lack of skipping
Well,
leg
so that
day
helps.
every day.
You need to pick up a rock and do a squat every day.
Just one?
It's just not supposed to be a 2-ton.
It's a big rock.
Ah,
You can really only do it once.
Well, I'm curious about this other business and how long it might take.
Oh, yes. There is a,
I was
an elven household
Hmm.
here, and they were our forge masters. Anything of great power probably came from their family.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, well, that would include Gwendolyn.
And?
They're wondering if they could have her back. They've lost a lot of their power, their knowledge when it comes to creating these relics, and basically, with Gwendolyn in hand, they may be able to start recreating these powerful weapons. I know you would be losing a tool, but my people would be gaining a much larger advantage.
They have to ask for it back.
They have to ask. As in they, I can't do this?
No. I want them
Good
to.
question.
No real reason. I want to ask them why they lost it.
That's a very sore subject, Godric.
If I had a family, losing something from at least held dearly, I find.
Do you carry any gifts from Samaria?
I do.
And if you were to die honorably out here in the middle of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
those gifts would have been lost to the Sumerian people. So you can assume that Gwendolyn fell into someone else's hands when its warrior was slain. And now it is finally making its way home, as you would want your items to do.
I don't
Again,
know.
I agree. I just wanted that.
You want your items to find their way home?
There's only one item that I have from my home that I don't see it going back.
I bet it's
Your
some kind of
body?
rock.
It's this, and I reach up and I tap the necklace with the symbol of Crom on it.
That was given to me by Mavith, Wise Drifter, the man who took me in and helped raise me once my father left.
This is the one I sent that message to, yes?
Yes, the one that has not answered.
Right.
I always pictured you as, if they kill me, then they earn the right to wield my stuff.
It's yes, especially if things were taken during conquest. But like the idea that this is a family item
Oh,
and it has the chance to go home to its family.
That is
Oh.
quite big of you, Godric. I did not expect that.
I would say it's kind of romantic.
No, just certain weapons that have been forged to such perfection deserve to go home to the people who have forged it.
And the second bit of business.
And it'd be the same once I'm done with this, or with the hammer. I don't have it on me. Once I am done with it, I intend to return it to the dwarves and let them decide. Well, they're a little different, but
I think the concept of romantic is lost on him. It's about
Ulthion, the second bit of business.
Oh, you would have to be absolutely mental if you thought I wasn't going to see my wife before we left.
Expected that. I was hoping they'd be here and save us some time.
No, this home is practically dilapidated compared to my villa.
More than you know. I find this whole place very uncomfortable.
So, Senev, Amadir, your groundskeeper, comes out and he's like, "That's offensive." Ulthion, all due respect,
All right, I
the estate
apologize.
hasn't been producing a great deal of income for us to keep up all appearances outwardly in the estate. I do
Right.
the best that I can.
Yes, you do, and what you do is fantastic. You just don't do much of it.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought.
Well,
I
I
thought-
must say that after being in Bravatis for so long, this is absolutely a breath of fresh air.
That's it.
The bath was amazing.
Yes, and the way all of the flowers and vines are so intricately melded in with the architecture. I mean, of course it's better than Bravatis. Bravatis has human architects. But what I simply meant, cousin, is that this is supposed to be a temporary home, and it wouldn't be as comfortable as our ancestral home. You are doing a great job, however, and I hope you continue to do so.
I feel like you're pulling one over on me again there, Ulthion. Like when we were children.
I don't know what you're talking about. I joke about nothing, ever.
Then that you're here, though, we can discuss an issue or several issues that have arisen with the estates as a whole.
Sure. Sell it all. Whatever eighth one wants.
That's the attitude that your father had when he released all of the contracts for the indentured servants. It's not going well. And while you may be dedicated to the temple, your son necessarily needs a place to live from and study from and maintain. So when you are back, at least go over the accounts and books and
All right.
debts owed and see what can be accomplished. Harvest is coming, and it is costing us a great deal of money. Burrup also would be more than welcome to speak to his father and his many brothers and sisters and the family, and go over their accommodations once again.
Of course.
Burrup, he's just like fucking eating, just like take this whole chicken. And he's just like, go. All right, fine. Is he arguing again with I assume with your wife? He just goes back to eating.
So, I gather our business here is concluded, though.
Mostly. We should be able to leave by morning at the latest. Well, let's say morning. I'd like to sleep one night here.
Why the sudden desire to leave?
So, I don't know how to explain it. This place unsettles me.
Not used to comfort?
What unsettles you?
The many layers of veneer over the magics. And it's a lot. It's overwhelming. Am I the only one who feels it?
I've grown accustomed to likely what you're talking about, but it's no secret. We know that we're losing our lands, magic, and mines slowly but surely.
And it's proficiently covered.
Yes.
A corpse with plenty of perfume.
I suppose you'd rather the entire place stank of death and decay.
Maybe when your home's a corpse, you should leave.
Or maybe you fight harder for it.
Maybe, but regardless, it sets me on edge, and I'd like to be on our way as soon as possible.
That's understandable, but perhaps we don't speak of my home that way. Just in the fact that in the 400 years I've been alive, I've had that conversation too many times.
And that's why I was reticent to bring it up, but I was asked, and I won't lie to any of you.
For what it's worth, there are no illusions at work here. This place is as beautiful and internally peaceful as you see. It's simply decaying from the outside in, not the inside out. Most people are too afraid to take control of their destiny anymore here. They've lost so much.
Maybe some of the veneer should be stripped so they can see what's really on the horizon.
Maybe, but that's not my job.
I suppose it isn't. I can manage, but I'm glad we won't have to stay long. I'm sorry that I don't mean to be offending you. It is your home. But I feel every bit of it, if you know what I mean. And I'm sure that elves with a more arcane bent who've been here long must be very tired.
I don't respond to him. I just walk into the other room.
Fuck. You don't really have a home, do you?
No.
Not intrinsically.
No, I don't.
So it might be a little harder for you to relate to.
Yes, it is.
I'm not saying to lie or anything. Just it's nothing we can fix right now.
I understand. And I don't mean to offend Ulthion, but he's happy to make his opinions of human culture and architecture known. I'm simply doing the same. This place is beautiful, but when you dig and see things in a slightly different way, it's fraying and its vibrations are wrong. And I'm sure if I was human, I'd be nauseous with it.
Well, it's one of those things where, especially an ancestral home, and elves are more in tune with that than a lot of other cultures might be.
Explains some of their ennui.
But it's kind of like they blind themselves to it to a certain extent, because what else is there to do? They don't feel as though they can fix it, and so they just separate it, go about their days, hoping that maybe in the future something will come to fix it all.
I understand.
They're just waiting for that thing to come. 'Cause in the meantime, they can't do anything about it.
Well, I hope you all rest well. I also just kind of stand and go back out into the courtyard and try to meditate.
Yeah.
Just try and unfocus from the chaos of the weave in this place.
What time of day is it? You said the sun was starting to set?
Yeah.
I think Locke would feel better if he could eat.
I'm gonna stand up too, and I'm gonna pop my head into the other room where you went. Or are you in there?
Yeah, I'm actually gathering together like a riding bag and a saddle.
When do you want to go give Gwendolyn up?
I don't know, honestly. Before we leave, but I'm not going to spend the night here when just a couple hours ride I can be with my wife.
Completely understandable.
Would all of you like to join me, do you think?
I'm going to be completely honest. I actually do want to meet your son.
I rescind my invitation.
It sounds weird, but I enjoy seeing the young ones learning. Their struggles are interesting.
Well, keep in mind he may not be there. Elven children train with other households sometimes for years at a time.
It's something similar happens in my tribe. Where depending on what area you may have a gift, sometimes you get sent to other groups of families to train in that endeavor.
Interesting. In our culture, we make sure that you have a gift in every area.
We don't have time to. We don't have that. What they block a luxury. We are given a path, and we are set upon it, and we must fight every bit for it.
That I understand. But yes, if you'd like to come, I would very much like to introduce my family to you.
I would enjoy that.
Excellent. Grab some more saddlebags then, and we'll gather some stags.
Do you have a horse big enough for me? Wait, stag?
Yes. Oh, yeah, right. Golden stags, elk. Like, you'll see, bigger than horses.
Fucking weird place. And I'm gonna go grab some saddlebags at Ulthion's.
I mean, we have horses
Direction.
too, but God, they're so archaic.
As long as it can hold me, if it's golden, I'm gonna be very confused.
No, it's not. Well, it's a title more than a descriptor.
But wait, descriptors are in front, and they describe the well, what did he call it? Noun?
Right. Golden stag.
That
Golden.
means it's golden.
Right, but it's a name. For instance, I am now Warmaster Ulthion. But we could easily ascertain that I'm not the master of all things war. There are others who will be better.
I think I get what you're saying.
You'll see. It's a light brown. It's just not made of gold.
Well, I was thinking golden color.
Brown.
Sounds like a lie.
I'll get you the one that looks the most like it's made of gold.
I was going to say the biggest. Okay.
They're all pretty big.
And I'll grab as many saddles as he asks me to, and help carry him to where them. I'm going.
Burrup, find out if anyone wants to go home tonight or if they'd rather stay here.
He puts down his food. Well, Ulthion asked if any of you are coming. And then both your cousin and your both your cousins basically just say no.
Fuck you.
Yarvin and Senev, they have too many duties to attend to within. You have people that you're expected to host within the coming weeks. Other elven houses and families, so are expected to be staying here. So.
Sure you have much cleaning to do after the Goliath? No offense, but you do make messes.
You're the reason I haven't been able to bathe 3 times.
But you did bathe this time.
Yeah, it took 3 times.
Oh, I see.
You were the fault of 3 of the ones I couldn't. 2 of them, sorry. This is the 3rd.
Well, I'd love to go. I'd love to meet your wife.
You two don't have a lot in common.
I believe that.
But I think she'd like to meet you as well. By the way, I'd love for you to meet her. Locke?
What? Oh. Yeah. I'll go with y'all.
See if maybe Eridor feels different outside the city.
Maybe.
Well, I'm definitely not staying here by myself. With the help.
My cousins are part of the family. They're not the help. They've taken it upon themselves to curate what is basically an ancient household.
Should have heard the
That
words
appears
there.
very different
The point,
than how you're framing it now.
the help, as you would call it, would be the indentured servants, and of which we
I thought you didn't have indentured servants.
don't. Not since my father.
Yeah, because he was talking about the contracts being abolished, and then I brought it up on the way in, and you're like, no, they're totally not slaves or indentured servants or anything like that. They're volunteers.
I think the indentured part you're getting hung up on. It's not necessarily a... how do I explain this? There are many jobs that need to be done, and Mendrathis especially, but on the whole of Eridor. And there are many people, humans, goblinkin, furbolg. Actually, my master-at-arms right now is a furbolg. But these people, they're not from here. They're rescued from the slave ships of the Dark Elves. And when we rescue them, they need jobs, and a lot of them feel indebted to us as is. So we write up contracts, because to serve our family is to serve more than a lifetime. If I am...
And Burrow kind of speaks up. If something happens to the family, our contract can be picked up by somebody else,
It guarantees
so that we
them work.
fulfill that debt. But it's
Not
not
voluntary debt.
It's a voluntary debt we take upon ourselves. Nobody is forced to do it, and I can leave Eridor anytime I want. It's just, it's hard to explain unless you found yourself on the sharp end of a dark elven sword in their fighting pits.
Okay, well, the heck if I'm going to stay here with the not help.
They're very helpful.
I like the help most of the time.
Just say you don't want to stay with his cousin.
I just don't want to stay with your cousins.
Understandable. They're arrogant assholes.
With everyone else
I
leaving.
was like, oh,
I pick
No,
up
it's
I
just-
pick up a
Goblin
piece of
to stay
bread
here
from the
either.
table and I throw it at my cousin.
Oh, Theon. He throws it back.
I was not paying attention when he threw that. Right, well, let's go. Riding a stag is a lot less like riding a horse than you'd think. Just let it do all the thinking and moving.
Oh.
Sounds like normal. I just do the
You'll
pulling.
notice the reins aren't attached to a bridle. They're just there so you don't fall off. It steers itself.
Scrap me. Yeah.
Alright, we're gonna bail out and make our way to Aethwen and Ravelar.
So to Amadirian?
Yep.
What? Say, oh my dear. What D&D? Yeah!
What happened there?
I was gonna cross my leg.
You were across your leg and instead you just kicked the whole table up 4 inches?
Yep. That's exactly what
It was the swing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Baby!
I thought I was farther back. And
From here, it seems like you just threw your knee into the table.
I kind of, because I thought I was farther back so I can hike my leg up and cross my legs,
You thought-
like crisscross applesauce.
Mhm.
But instead, I just need this low-bearing triangle right
Criss
here.
cross applesauce.
And it's currently how I'm sitting in a chair right
With a
now.
little cinnamon? Throw a little cinnamon in it?
No, I added ginger snap to the top of it.
Boo. Boo, ginger snaps.
Traitor.
You made the joke. I finished it. Enjoy.
You ruined it.
No, I just said the truth.
She is upsetty at
Ruined
the
it.
moment.
It's like when my parents been like, we're getting a divorce. Well, that kind of ruins stuff.
No. Try me.
I'm just telling you the truth.
What? Why?
Maybe it worked.
Oh, I would never.
is I take the rope and I make myself a saddle in their horns.
Ruthless, like war, without mercy.
Matt is on this war bandwagon.
He's warforged.
Oh, we're gonna roll on that because I'm also a war wizard.
War wizard, war.
Well, there's
Warforged,
no
war wizard,
war bard.
Warmaster.
Wizards of the Coast.
We are
Warward.
built.
There are wizards. To add one of those to celebrate your,
Being bought.
yeah.
They're buying.
They're buying.
D&D
Yeah,
Beyond or whatever.
they're what's the word I'm looking for?
Acquisition.
Yeah. Their acquisition.
Yeah.
Incorporated.
Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yeah, they promise for 20 years to come out with digital support.
Then
And then someone else
does it,
just
and they go,
does
"You
it.
guys."
And they're
Yeah.
like, wow, this really is easy and really great. And then they're like, you know what, we're just going to buy what you do because we're basically Apple now.
It is neat. The shield.
It's like, oh god, well, who? Yeah, I'm
He's
thinking of,
wondering what you did to get those, like, behind the scenes.
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
I had
Uh-huh.
many comments.
Was it all of it? Did you do all of it?
No, he didn't go to. He didn't do a home run. He just went to third base.
What are we?
That counts.
Are we assuming that I'm trading sexual favors for stuff?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
There's no trade involved in that. I just give sexual
No, you're
favors.
trading your time where you happen to be doing sexual favors.
Totally coincidental.
Totally
Coincidental.
Nothing in the DMG says you can't do it.
It's a
Nothing the social contract at the table says it either.
yes.
I actually had a
Yes.
table one time filled with a bunch of people I barely knew, and at one point, the guy goes, "Does a 14 hit?" And I go, "Ooh, it doesn't, just barely." He takes $20 out of his pocket, and he slams it on the table, and he goes, "How about now?" And everybody's like laughing, and then he just slides it closer to me. And this was a long time ago. I was a little young, and I was like, "Oh yeah, 16 totally hits." And the guy goes, "You got a 14." I was like, "Oh, I heard 16. Anyway, that hits." It
You're a bad person. I approve.
That's hilarious.
was pretty funny.
I just.
What do you think you do to the audience?
There's a
We're
dream
like
one
the-
day where it's like,
Give
I
us
rolled a
money,
one.
We'll do stuff.
I rolled a one.
Bribe us.
Fucking
Do
just
it.
Throw hundreds of dollars at Andy. Does a one hit? Yes.
One does it.
No, he
Macy.
takes
Does a
your money and then
$100 bill
no,
hit?
it's still
Yeah,
not
I just take the money back. No, it misses.
Let this be a lesson to you, everyone.
I'm not in charge
No,
of what a nat
it
one
doesn't
does,
hit.
Mike.
You should do that one time, though. For real.
That'd be funny.
All right. I'm gonna.
So the ride out of the city, taking the stags is gonna take at least a couple of hours of riding. You should be arriving at the estate at night. Generally speaking, the ride through the Gloomwood is actually fairly safe, especially this close to Mindrathis and along the pathway. But the nature of the curse that rolls over the lands at times, sometimes treants become an issue along the way. So it's you hit this well-paved and well-traveled path. It seems like it'll be less of an issue either way because there are plenty of merchants and travelers and other elves along the road the entire ride through the Gloomwood out to the wide open fields and pastures of the small farming villages. Which one of the things that you pick up on immediately about these lands is that a village, it seems to elves, is very different than what a village would be to some of the other races, aside from maybe dwarves. They're all these well-structured, beautiful, just small family homes that seem just economical in their design. They're all shingled and tiled. They all have the same sort of columns and colonnades on the outside of these small build properties. And while they might not be the sweeping and tall structures or have the same kind of size that Ulthion's townhouse, the Amadir townhouse, does in Mindrathis, they all seem like they meet the basic needs and beyonds for any elves. And you don't see any kind of structures that would be built any differently that denotes that this second class of indentured or indebted citizenry is treated any differently than their elven counterparts are when it comes to where they live and how they live. Lots of corralled and wild horses. Nobody's out working the fields because it's extraordinarily late. And while that does seem strange because elves have dark vision, they treat their work days as if they always have more time the next day to do it. Because most of the crops and stuff are really the annual idea of like farming and going with these seasons out inside of Eredor, with them being able to control the temperance of the weather within their own realm. It's harvesting season whenever they need it to be, and nothing ever dies. There is no winter, which they have to worry about. Magical fruit and grains are grown throughout the lands within Mendrathis itself. It's capable of supporting itself on the food that it makes. Mostly, it just seems like everyone is focused on having these luxurious and fulfilling lives. Their hobbies, art, literature.
Because we get bored.
Yes. Because some infrastructure is necessary to be maintained. That's where this secondary class of citizens normally comes in. Repairing roads, repairing houses, building barracks or garrisons, or repairing the outer walls at the great fortresses that protect each of the individual islands that make up Eredor, or serving. Many second-class citizens like goblinoids or humans who are rescued from the Dark Elves find success serving inside the military as part of the host as well. So you see this sweeping, beautiful country that is just so far from removed and contrasting between what you experienced in Midheim that it almost feels like you're just riding through Elysium. There is no want, there is no worry. There's only music and joy through every house that you pass along the road with every group of merchants. They offer trade. And then you come to the outskirts of the village.
Ulthion, does your home have beds? I know you guys don't sleep.
There are other things you can do on beds, and for those things we have quite a few.
Excellent. So that's where we'll be sleeping then.
Sure.
Good. Perfect. Just thought we'd
Maybe
sort that
fresh.
out.
Sorry, that was a bit awkward. Also, while we're on the subject of my home, the first one of you that tries to extrapolate embarrassing information about me from my loved ones will receive far worse than a feather in the boot prank.
Well, that's me.
So it's a competition then?
No, it's me.
That's what it sounds like, yes.
You will rue the day.
I'm so scared.
We already know you're a big softy on the inside. What else could we possibly learn?
I'm not soft on the inside. I'm wet and gross, just like every other mortal.
That's true.
Oh, no. So we're deaf.
Honestly, you'll be very bored to find out that there are no embarrassing stories of me. I've always been this great.
I don't believe it. Not for a second.
So,
As you're riding, though, as everybody else kind of sees this sweeping, rolling valley of hills with this town, you actually see a strikingly different image for a moment, and it kind of phases in and out. You see, again, that structure and that discharge off in the distance, this looming darkened threat in this sky, this field, this sky of red, and this almost like what that kid saw in Stranger Things, the Upside Down. It's just out there, and it's just the entire world past that point as you crest this hill is just darkness, and there's this void, this single signal of like magical arcane nature that once again calls out to you in this mechanical like voice. and it just beckons you to come to it.
Is it in the direction of Shamara, where I was before?
No, this. I mean, technically, I guess if you go in that direction long enough, you would go to end up in Shamara.
But is it in? So it's. In
But
the
you mean
direction of
Suan,
Suan.
I believe.
I'll double check. I think it was the Shamara.
Either way, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But no, it's not in that direct direction because you guys are riding west at the moment out of the city. So it would be east from you if that was the case. But it's only there for a brief second, and then it's gone, and outstretched out before you is this large swath of elven estates and farmland and less area spent on agriculture, but there's schools and just a lot of structures, and it's exceptionally quaint and spread out. There's lots of space between all the individual homes. But in the center, there's a singular structure, which is basically called a vault of laws, which is kind of like the local magistrate and local legal system, which the Amadir family would, work very closely with, as they're the most prominent family in this small village. It's more or less considered theirs, per se. Above that is another large elven structure, kind of beyond this singular large estate that everything else is kind of built up on the outside of. This is sort of in ruin and has been left there. But it looks like it used to be some sort of hold. It has towers very similar in architectural style to that of Mandrathis. Maybe it was a fortress at some point. But riding up to the town, all this kind of just spreads out before you, this huge space. So Elven towns just designed so much differently, so much more free and open than what you might find clustered together in human cities and towns.
It is lovely here.
Yes, it is. The Gloomwood is even an interesting name. You'd think, well, after being in Midheim, nothing's very creepy, but... and the treants, honestly, aren't that big of a deal, usually.
But by the time you hit town, it's lighting up.
Yes. Owls exist everywhere. Well, almost everywhere.
Riding into the main part of town, heading straight into kind of the center. Once again, you can hear like joyful music and people laughing and playing. And the elves don't have the same sense of privacy. It seems everything is like very open. The public face of an elven home is something that's open to just about anybody who can like walk up and speak to them. And it's not uncommon for them to have like shared dinners between household to households, where you basically have two households that come together and have these fantastic meals. And it's honestly far more common, and especially out in these areas, for them to have these kind of festive community dinners, which at the moment seems to be kind of what's happening. All around the outside of what Ulthion points out to be their estate, there's magical lanterns and the soft blue lights and these fires, and there's basically, it seems like every elf, maybe 50 or 60 people are out there just eating. They have these long tables, and they're all underneath these great trees, these canopies, which will help protect them from like rain if they want it, or it does happen to rain, because natural weather does happen, but only when they want it to. And you kind of ride up this road through the rest of the homes and go through this archway that has Elven written on it. And it basically just says the Amadir estate, so on and so forth. Like, here we are.
See, Trin?
You are
Signs.
here, just like in a mall. It's like, you are here, the Amadir estate.
Well, normally signs tell you how to get places, not just when you get there.
Right. So, next time you're in some sort of large area like the temple and need to get to a place, all you have to know is the corresponding color to the place you're going. For instance, if you were going to my lodgings in the temple, in the library, which are very infrequently used, then you would simply find the color associated with me, Ulthion, and then as you walk around the temple, you'll find subtle patches of that color giving you directions to get there. Well, subtle for you, at least.
Sounds good. Like, why?
Probably because we have incredible eyesight.
What's your color?
Well, in the Library of Icthillan, my color is a sort of 2 shades removed cyan.
Do other elves have a 1 shade removed cyan or cyan?
Yes, well,
And you can tell the difference between them.
to you
So
is
I think
quite obvious.
Even the signs that they do have may not be immensely helpful.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like it.
Yes, well, Mindrathis isn't exactly meant for others.
Well, you got enough others living here.
I won't stop you. You can say the lesser beings.
Why would I say lesser beings? Well, what if I say it like this? Beings with lesser eyesight.
Well done.
I'm getting there.
Well, are you just talking to us to stall, or are you going to go up to your own home?
Oh, honestly, I'm a little nervous.
So as you arrive and pass through the gate, a couple of individuals are kind of walking down the road with these everlit torches of elven design, and they kind of look like almost like they're meant to be like little trees, and there's a light on the inside, like this glowing crystal orb. One of them kind of shouts out in Elven, "Who goes there? Who arrives on the estate?"
I just ride forth so they can see me, and then I smile. I'm just coming home for the night.
When you look at them, you recognize 2 of the personal guards for the estate, both underneath the command of your guard captain Aldan Vasuathen. But both of them are younger elves. One of them being damn it, I just clicked away from that. Agnar and Fanon. And they kind of just return there. "Oh, Master Amadir, we didn't know that we would be arriving tonight. We were told that you would be staying in Mandrathis for the evening, and that we
Yes.
would see you tomorrow."
Well, when you have a wife as beautiful as mine, you tend not to want to wait that long. But
They
you've
both
done
look
good.
at each other, and he's just like, yeah. Anyways, you know.
I don't want to get fired today.
Yeah. Well, the lady is on the estate. She's entertaining the village as usual. So everybody is here.
Perfect.
Either way, feel free to ride up to the home. We'll go on about our duties.
Thank you for your permission, all done. Yeah, go right ahead. So I can find somebody who's willing to take the stags. And then I will very quickly make my way to my wife.
Then
Fade to black.
go
Of
on.
course. Fade to black, of course.
A mind meld or something. Is that what you want to hear?
Mind meld.
No, I was thinking more
Put our fingers
genitals
together
involved.
like this. And then we stare deeply into
Yeah,
each
your-
other's eyes.
Your fingernails
Foreplay can
like
sometimes
growing.
last up to a decade amongst the elves.
How
God.
fucking thrilling. My god.
Tantric.
Yeah.
Why are we discussing this? Stop.
Is that a statue? No, they've just gathered dust. They'll be done eventually.
Eventually.
Here being dusty is
All I
rather
can
hot.
all I can think of is the fucking turtles.
That is a
man.
rather risque statue you got there.
You're talking about like,
Yeah, and they take forever doing it.
They're adorable.
That's all I can think of is that.
The most adorable animal sex
yep,
scene
I just
ever.
did that
Turtles.
live.
I like when turtles try and seduce each other and they do this move where they're like, they're just like, love me. Yeah, that's what it
This is why you need to be a turtle.
No,
Yes.
I am
Alright,
not.
yeah, so you
role-playing.
dismount, you find somebody to come and grab the horses. And or not the horses, the stags, and they kind of take them out from underneath of you. What are the rest of you doing as he, like, disappears like right away. He jumps
It
down,
just
spares
leaves.
no time.
Yeah.
He doesn't explain anything, introduce you to anybody. He just basically leaves you there on the property.
I go to one of his guard people.
Well, you don't see any.
Oh, well, I look for them.
Standing from where you are, you don't see anybody when you look for him.
I look for other people. I look for one of the 60 people that are here. I go to the party, because I am the life of the party. And I start asking inquisitive questions about young Master Ulthion child. Oh my dear, the young Master, oh my dear. In Elven, fluent,
My son's name is Aravelar.
ravioli.
Wow.
Is young Master Ravioli MIT?
That's fucking hilarious.
So your estate is a vineyard, yeah? That's what you said?
Mhm.
Okay.
You got a little food processor and take the grapes.
No. While we were...
Aerator out the...
Bender, your dirty stinking silver.
Do we see...
So Trin, he jumps down and wastes no time. He disappears and runs straight towards the party. And he hears some gasps and some yelling, like immediately afterwards.
Oh dear.
And some shouting in Elvish.
something about a goblin, I'm sure.
Yeah. You recognize the Elven word for goblin.
Yeah. While we were riding up, and from... I assume his house is up on the hill because it's a vineyard.
Sort of.
It's elevated for sure.
Yeah, it's elevated. It's a singular large structure with a long road that kind of leads up to it, with these like columns of trees that ran up the side.
I'm just seeing an Italian vineyard right now. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's just there's no real agriculture. It's all like
Luxury
spaces
goods.
and luxury and like statues and there's a large pool of water. So
there is like
it's more like a villa than is a vineyard.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the villa is surrounded by the vineyard. Do we see like a warehouse where they would
Just
probably
up
store
on
the
the-
barrels for the wine? Here?
From where you are, no. You have to walk the grounds in order to find something like that. There were multiple structures on the because you kind of came from a higher elevation down into this valley where this town is. So you did see that the estate, as Ulthion pointed out to it, did have multiple structures there, including the central one where more than likely everyone lives based on the design of the townhouse. Because it's set up in a very similar architectural style. But from where you are, it's not extraordinarily obvious. There are a ton of extraordinarily adverse reactions to you running up. People yelling at you and...
goblin people here. Goblin noise.
Yeah, but they're the
I'm
help.
speaking it up.
No,
No,
he says
they're
those
not
things,
sir.
but we're now in the estate. This is where the fancy people party.
We're in elf country.
Yeah.
I'm in Elf Country now.
Anyway, I'm gonna go up to Katarina before she goes in, and kind of. It's unusual for luck, so he's gonna kind of grab you by your arm, and kind of lean in. I need you to keep an eye on me, please.
Of course. What's going on?
Just am feeling unsettled, and I'm not myself, I don't think.
Alright, I'll link my arm with yours. We'll stay together then.
If anything should occur, have means to dispel. Ready?
I will do my best.
I am gravely concerned.
I did whisper this to you, and then lean back out. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll keep my arm linked with yours, though. Alright, shall we?
Shall.
Alright, yeah, and then we'll head in. See how much trouble Trin's gotten into in the 5 seconds that he's been inside.
You as you come around, you see him frantically explaining to people who are like stood up and like, or like staring at him and talking like talking amongst themselves. That he's just frantically moving his hands around a lot and talking.
I'm an esteemed guest of Ulthion!
Yeah, and you keep hearing Almadir this, Almadir that, and it just keeps coming up. So you recognize Ulthion's name and his title. Then after they see you and Locke come around the corner, everybody gets even more concerned. And people are kind of like freaking out about it.
Everyone put your hands up!
You didn't introduce us to your
When
own
Godric
party.
comes around the corner, it just gets dead quiet. Just quiet. Just everything done. The music stops. Everybody stops talking, and they just stare at him.
Hello.
And then there's some elven. You hear some elven slang for like outsider and stuff, being levied at everybody.
We're here with Ulthion.
Saying common.
Absolutely. One does not speak Elvish looking like this.
That's probably true.
Well, that's what I did. That's exactly what I did.
So this kind of dark-haired elf comes over and speaks in common back to you, to everybody. So you're here as guests of the Almadirs, then?
Yes.
We hadn't been told that he had arrived.
He rode off very fast to go see his wife.
He wasn't planned
And you
to
hear
be...
some, like, people talking or
scandalous.
whatever.
He
Yeah.
wasn't planned to be here tonight, but we decided to... He wanted to be home, and we are friends of his, so we decided to accompany him.
Well, it's alarming to see people who look much like yourselves arrive unannounced and without the guidance of your guest or benefactor or patron, I guess whatever word works the best for you in common.
Do you hear mumble of Godric
feel-
saying jackass?
Feel free to eat and drink and, I guess, partake. This is a communal gathering. This is pretty much everybody in the town, so, no big deal.
Excellent. We will make the rounds, introduce ourselves, and certainly everyone understands that we're not here to cause any trouble.
All right, then.
Yes, partake! It's like, grab a glass of something. Take one.
I walk up to the gathering and kind of just start looking around awkwardly, seeing people staring at me, and I just kind of shrug and try some of the food and the drink,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try and
as long as it is offered.
I'm gonna go. I'm sure there's someone playing something, so I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna join them playing some old elven, fun song, cultural, some culture.
Honestly, I thought you were going to say that you were just going to try to match pace with them.
I thought you just said you were going to play the Elven Thong song. That's what I heard. And I was like, whoa.
If that's the
All right, man, it's
song
going to
of
be
your
that kind of
people,
party.
if that is the song of your people, that is what I will play.
That's funny.
Or is it more of a spoken word sort of situation when it's Elven? Thong. 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 Thong.
Oh, Trent.
Just
I think
fun.
Elvis might be into slam poetry.
No.
That's a half orc thing.
Just.
Yeah, that's an orc thing. They love that shit.
They didn't know what it meant, but they heard slam and they were like, ooh, I'm in.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm so down. I don't know what that means, but whatever. I'm all about it. So you're gonna play music for him?
No, just some old elven ditty. I'm just gonna. I figured there's probably something playing. Elves, not people. I figured there's some elves playing.
Elves aren't people, I guess.
Some elves playing some elven stuff. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
there's
smooth
some
the tension.
there's some lyres and some
Cheats.
flutes and stuff that are kind of being played, and the music is fairly lively and up tempo, and there are people enjoying themselves and laughing, and Once everybody gets used to the fact that you freaks are in there,
To be fair, we pretty much get that reception
You
anywhere. It's not
classy
just here.
dickheads.
exactly. Mostly talking about the fucking Goliath, the freaking nature over there.
I'm
Huge.
still gonna be loudly talking and drinking. I'm gonna be like purposely budging into people, trying to like
Instigate.
not
Yeah,
instigate,
break
but
down
like
cultural norms.
Why'd
totally
you
just.
bring them there?
I'm trying to be
I don't know.
friendly as a
don't
Goliath
know.
would.
I don't know.
Katarina was a safe bet, but the rest of them?
You abandoned us. You get whatever you deserve.
Exactly.
So speaking of Ulthion Armadir.
So no lead up, you just jump up on stage and you're just like, hey, listen to me, I play music. Nothing,
Well,
you'll
no.
introduce yourself or
No,
anything?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna tell them that I'm a bard,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna tell them in Elven and that I would like to join in on one of their old traditional ditties.
Okay. Alright, so
I'm
they
trying to smooth it over.
make
I'm-
a
Get outta
make
here.
a persuasion
It's not
check.
for you.
I will do that. This is the first time I've looked at my character. You know that. 1 second. Sorry. I wasn't prepared. I'm a bad player. Look at that. I'm bad to the bone. Bad to the bone.
Is that what you play?
It
It's
could
a
be.
classic orc fucking war song.
We're at a Renaissance masquerade and he just starts playing metal in the lobby.
Why are you
You
doing
have
that?
you have
22.
You're like, that's not great, 22.
bitch. How the fuck,
He knows how to math. You're not allowed to question his
bro?
math
That's a
skills.
low ass dice. All right, that's the only reason.
I'm just saying.
It's because
I've seen you math. We don't want to go through this,
Yeah.
okay?
It's okay.
All right.
You know what?
Alright.
Fair enough. I ain't gonna say
if
that.
I roll less than a,
Oh yeah, you got.
I
Yeah,
get
never
a
mind.
10.
Never mind, you're a
and
bard.
I
It's a
plus
10.
12.
Yeah, he's a
You're a bard.
bard.
You're a
He's a
bard.
bard. He's awesome.
You're a bard.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, I'm
It was
good.
Bro,
Contrary to
Well,
what
it takes a little bit of convincing, you know, but and they are skeptical of your skills, but they allow you this opportunity to either embarrass yourself or prove otherwise. So they allow you to go on stage and play. And the tune is simple enough to follow. It's nothing super crazy. But you immediately recognize like the technical skill of the flute players, and there are some very almost to you for standardized music, because you're used to like the music on Gwinnett. There's some interesting change-ups in like the rhythm and the bridges that have like double counts, and it takes you a minute to get into it, but you figure it out after about a song. And you're like, I got it, and you're just up there playing. You're playing away, and you're all watching, and you can see everybody else out there, and Godric's looking like he's
If I
trying to get
have
himself
I
into
cheat
trouble.
and I use
I'm
magic.
If I have
trying
to
not.
cheat and I use magic, that's not. That's accurate for a bard. Fair enough. So you're bumping into people, waiting to cause an incident. What's Katarina
I'm
doing?
trying to be.
Bump,
I'm just
bump.
trying to be the night. I'm just trying to be. I'm trying to include people. I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody.
Well, bumping a conversation.
But he's doing it like a Goliath.
Yes,
Yes!
I know. That's why I'm like,
Yeah,
he's
it's
waiting
like-
to cause an incident.
Yeah, he's like walking up to an elf that doesn't like being touched. He's like, "Hello, brother.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yes, that is
how are
definitely.
you tonight? Oh, I'm feeling great. I'm just invading a person's space.
Yes,
I
and if
know,
someone
exactly.
says stop it, I'm gonna go. Oh, sorry.
What's Katarina doing?
I am probably gonna find a spot for Locke and I to sit
Mhm.
where we can see Trin and the band playing. I'll grab a glass of wine or something, but I'm not gonna drink any of it because I need to stay alert.
Stay alert.
Ooh.
You worried about these tricksy elves and
No, I'm worried about
Locke?
Locke just telling me to keep an eye on him.
His eyes light up red, turns evil.
He turns into the Terminator.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll
Um,
just kind of nibble on some food. Just kind of try to be part of it while half-heartedly, while
Mhm.
mostly just paying attention to Locke.
Gotcha,
Kind of
okay.
doing the mother hen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, the mom friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, alright.
Yes. I'm being
Um,
mom friend to Locke.
Well, there's a wide variety of different food to eat. Roasted sausages, dried leek, which is basically like a green stock.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's oniony.
Roasted
Dried out
capon, which
celery,
is
yum.
fattened birds, and then there's like steamed cod, sugar. There's a variety of different cheeses and a multitude of meads and wines available, and healthy, but definitely filling. It's very different than the kind of food that you're used to seeing in Moon Elven like taverns and establishments or in their homes. So
I'll
whole different.
occasionally like pick up my wine glass and like kind of swirl it around and then start another conversation and put it back down so that I look like I'm partaking but not actually drinking anything.
Okay. Sounds good. What's Locke doing? Aside from sitting there?
I sent you a thing, but right now I'm mostly kind of sitting to
See a
myself.
thing.
Yeah, I'm keeping to myself, kind of being cordial when someone does, like, have enough curiosity to ask. Give him my name. Tell him I'm with Ulthion. I'm just his companion, but I try to make myself as uninteresting as possible.
Well, you're a warforged.
I know. I'm sure I'm getting a
If you
lot of
stand
love.
still long enough, they'll think you're a statue.
My name's on the list.
Oh, look at this new artwork. Oh, it's a person.
So, I suppose,
Empty.
any of the elves younger here? I'm a little nicer to the younger ones. I'll like do a little magic
yeah.
display for them if they're curious and
Mhm.
like
That's almost good as my 3-year-old little sister's
So,
magic display. 'Cause
one
I'm an elf.
one of the ones I do for them is using electricity. At first, it just looks like I'm just like basically palpatining the floor.
Mhm.
But then as it continues and I start to like move my hands a little more, it turns into 2 marionettes with electricity as the strings, and they're dancing together.
Okay, that's cool.
And then when they finish and the male dips, the female like bursts into a little thunderclap. Now scurry along.
I'll do the thing. Get out of here!
I'm not your dancing monkey.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm. Okay. Right. Well, if nobody else has anything to go over, because the having these little festivals or these little communal dinners requires so much coordination. Usually your wife doesn't have nearly as much time until later into the festivities to like get away from directing like what's happening with the servants and like the kitchens and areas and staging for the food and getting it all right. Because realistically, everybody provides some sort of food, but it's mostly on the largest estate to provide most of what's going to be there or available. So finding your way to your large kitchen in the estate isn't hard. Finding your way back there, and there you see. Open up the notes here and get everything ready. There you see Aethwyn, kind of arranging and directing the various cooking staff, and which are a variety of. There's a couple of elves, and there's a couple of humans, all kind of working furiously to prep everything, and like a large stew pot is being kind of dealt with at the moment, and she's just. They come up to her with an issue real quick, and she just kind of directs them and points, and they go and grab it. One of them runs into one of the stock rooms and grabs a new I guess it'd be like a jar of mead to be taken out to the courtyard and the outlying kind of grounds where everybody's set up and enjoying themselves. So yeah, so she's just there in the room.
I need to speak to whoever's in charge here tonight. I have a complaint to make. I just stand in the doorway, leaning against it, arms crossed, with a big smirk on my face.
Prop the button.
So
at
there's
Yeah, right.
you.
so her you can visibly see her her shoulders kind of drop. And then she utters in Elven, which you understand this kind of curse, and she's like, better not be Mostosian like again. He always complains. And then she's saying that in full sentence as she turns, and then she sees you standing there. And the plate that she's holding, she just drops, and it shatters on the floor, and these like all these like grapes, green and purple ones, just kind of roll over the ground. And she runs straight over to you, and she just embraces you immediately.
Oh yeah, big hug.
Mhm.
Pick her up, twirl her around, and everything. And then I'll just set her down, look her right in the eye. Feels as if I haven't seen you in years, but then again, every minute does when I'm without you.
And she just smiles, and she's always been considered an extraordinary elven beauty, exceptionally graceful. Definitely, you were punching above your weight class when you landed her, and it's because she landed you.
Yeah.
Because she
didn't have a
refused
choice.
she refused all other elven suitors and refused to marry all the other arrangements that her family tried to go to get her to take, and settled for you. She's dark of hair and light tan of skin, and she's wearing this high collared, like greenish blue dress that kind of just fades between these two colors and blends all the way down to the end as it hits the floor. And there's this like designer, like almost like jewels, and they look like leaves and branches, but they fit on the shoulders and kind of connect up top, and it kind of makes it look almost like there's a cage of natural design on her shoulders and connecting at the collar. It's one of her favorite pieces. She just kind of like steps back and just only been gone for like 2 months, Ulthion.
I know.
What did you think I would forget about you?
Yes.
I would never
Damien.
make it that easy on you to forget about you.
Well, it helps that my son looks a lot like me.
I don't want to have that same old debate again. I say he looks more like my father, my side of the family, than yours. But either way, she kind of grabs your hands and kind of brings them up to just above her chest, like at the bottom of the neck right there. What are you doing here anyways?
Oh,
I was told that you would be arriving tomorrow. We were going to prep and get rid of everybody, and we would just have the estate all to ourselves. And I assume the commotion that I did hear was, I guess, not wild stories and magic gone awry, so I assume that you brought your compatriots with you back to Eredor?
I did, and I'm regretting having left them so quickly, but I'm sure they'll manage.
Yes, we both know that you should have introduced them to the villa steward and the guard captain and everybody who matters.
Right, well, you see, I don't follow traditions as well as I used to.
It irritates me every time. Every single time, Ulthion. Either way, also, another day wouldn't have given me time to get our son here. He's currently at another estate, and we're hoping that we could have him back tomorrow to see you. So, are we planning on staying at Eredor longer than a day, or are you leaving first thing?
I think we are trying to leave as early as possible. Our work is serious. There's so much I have to tell you.
So serious, right?
Don't make fun of me.
You said it was serious the first time you left, and I believed you, so I don't believe that's changed. But wouldn't they like to stay here in Eredor for a while? I assume they're just absolutely road-weary and traveled and tired. And even through a elven waygate, it's, I assume, a taxing experience.
Not as taxing as standard teleportation, let me tell you.
That might be a story we have to explain to me.
I don't know
Either
how
way,
long they plan on
the-
staying. Perhaps we
The
could
culture,
wait.
the climate, the air in Eredor, it's so freeing and open, and it has to be more pleasant than going back to wherever you're going.
It is, at least for most of us. But what we're doing is on a timetable. I know that's not something we're used to, but There's a lot to be done. Have you heard anything? Without me, they found the dragon orbs.
We hadn't heard anything about what goes on with the lawmasters in your order. It's all very quiet. The council hasn't spoken to anything. Aside from the possibility of Dark Elves invading the Phoenix Gate and attacking the Northern Island. But aside from that, they came, they gathered recruits, they got the reservists from the village. We paid to spare our personal guard and keep them here. We've been having issues with wargs in the forest nearby and with our hunting grounds, so we wanted to keep them here just because I was expecting Ravalar to be home here soon. He's been gone for at least 3 weeks now.
Not long then.
No, not long. It was a short, just a short time spent with his language tutor.
Good. That boy is... It's tongue-tied easily.
Yes, according to the tutor, though, he seems to be taking the Goblinoid exceptionally well.
But maybe he can teach me a thing or two.
Either way, where is this band of adventurers that you brought back to us?
Be
I would sure
prepared.
would like to meet them.
They are full of vim and, well, most of them are pretty ugly.
Well, I mean, you know as well as I do that, while I do enjoy Burrup and his family, except for his father, currently, who we are having a short dispute over some things that we should go over later, I'd very, very much like to meet some outsiders from outside of Eredor. I've never been into the Foreigner District in Mendrathis. It's too...
Dirty?
dirty.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be Godric, the loudest sneeze I have ever heard. I'll lead you to him.
By the gods, it's so loud.
I believe his lungs are as large as me. He's a Goliath.
All right, then.
And then watch your
A
step.
Goliath?
There's a goblin around as well.
Oh,
Twin
goblins.
Twilight. He's a member of the Silver Choir, though.
Silver Choir. Remind me again what they do?
They are the preeminent bards. They have organizations all around the continent. Mostly they trade in...
Around Gwinnett,
helpful-
right?
Yes, Gwinnett. Yes, they trade in secrets and...
So they're spies.
Well, no,
They're not spies.
they're communicators.
I'm getting mixed signals. They sound like spies.
Maybe they are, but they're good spies. They're on the right side.
Well,
Then
I guess I'll
there's-
have the cooks hide the llama's bread recipe so they can't spy it away from us.
He probably already has. Katerina, a sorceress, I suppose. And it would be a stretch to say she was human, but she is.
That's an interesting way of putting that. What did you bring back to our estate?
Oh, nothing. She's just, she has a very,
She has 10 fingers, toes.
I assume.
Face.
Yes, I haven't really examined her toes. Human feet are so squishy. But either way, she's related to some very interesting and powerful beings. And then there's Locke, a warforged. So at least he won't be eating any of the bread.
Warforged.
Yes.
Those are exceptionally rare. I don't think a single one even exists within Eredor. At least not that I've heard of.
I hadn't really thought of it, but I
Not
doubt
in,
there are any Goliaths around. Oh, no, there will be a couple.
not in
just smaller.
400 years have I heard of a warforged coming to Eredor for any reason.
Well, there aren't many of them, and we don't exactly open the gates. But either way, they're right this way.
Anyway,
I walk around
be
the bar,
most
I see
delighted
Trent
to.
playing.
Yeah, Trent's up on stage playing. You see Katarina and Locke over on this kind of bench off to the side, out underneath one of the great white oak trees that surrounds the property, where you can be found within the town and on the properties. Aside from that, you see Godric just bugging the shit out of your neighbors, man. Bugging the shit out of them. He's standing way too close, being way too active, so much gesturing, and he's loud. He just laughs that way.
I make no
and
effort to correct this so that when I do return years from now, everyone will know what I went through.
Exactly. Good.
Godric can't live in the
And one
HOA.
time, each of you sees Ulthion come out, holding hands with this beautiful elven woman with the dark hair, and it's up, and there's the two strands hanging down, coming down the shoulders, and this wonderfully intrinsic dress, and they kind of just walk out there. They greet a couple of elves and their neighbors first for a moment and talk to a few people, but they're slowly making their way closer to you and Locke and Godric, who's cramming
I'll wave Godric
stuff
over.
into his mouth.
Trent's busy
Stuff
playing.
in general.
I kind of wipe off my chest, seeing his wave over, and I kind of, pardon me, and I pat one of the elves on the shoulder and kind of walk over to you.
You just assaulted that man.
It's not my fault he fell over.
It's exactly your fault. An object in motion and all.
I just gave him a pat on his back. He fell over. It's not my fault.
As I get closer, I'll stand up and kind of bow.
Mm-hmm.
I am Katerina. It is very lovely to meet you.
So, she doesn't speak common perfectly, but she speaks it well enough. But there's definitely like an elven accent to it, and you can see that because of the way Elven is spoken, they're very light on like the tongue, and everything kind of just slides further. But she, gives you a quick nod, and you must be Lady Katerina then, are you not?
Yes, that's me.
You are quite lovely.
Oh, no, nothing compared to you.
The dress, though, it's customary of what human culture? It does seem to have hints of elven touches, but I can't quite place how it was made or where.
Am I still wearing the one from Bravadis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This one is from Midheim.
Midheim. It's one of the human territories, Ulthion. Did you visit there?
Yes, it is a cursed place, one I hope never to have to return to again. We fought a vampire there.
Ah, I see. So does this explain her semi-pale complexion and kind of cold, stoic structure?
I assume this is all in Elven.
Yeah.
No, it does not. She is the daughter of, well, she's some sort of shadow being from Hecate.
The
That
goddess.
brings across multiple languages.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah. Yeah. It's said a little
Hecate,
differently in Elvish, but like Hecate, but it comes through the same.
recognizable.
Yeah. So she turns. So you're the daughter of a goddess?
It's a little ambiguous.
The
Ulthion
short
made it
answer is
very
yes.
clear,
Don't be modest.
and she turns and says something to him in
Of course you
Elvish,
are.
and then back to you in Common. Either way, welcome to our home, and I look forward to. Hopefully, you stay longer. Ulthion says you'll be leaving here very shortly, within a day, and I said that you're invited to stay for some time. Outsiders find Eredor exceptionally refreshing, and it raises the spirits incredibly.
But she did say you should stay longer before she met the others.
Yes, that's what.
This is Godric. Godric, the son of Enga.
So she looks up at you, she's like,
I wave and kind of put my hand on my chest and pleasure to meet you. Name is Godric Angerson.
Godric Angerson.
Yes.
Angerson. She just tries to copy her accent.
It's a silly name. He comes from a silly place.
All you speak Elven?
No. No.
All you hear is
Totally
like. All
how
you
I
hear is
describe
like.
it. Very
All you
silly.
hear is like. Vasterlen no Grontish. That's all. All you hear is basically gibberish as they're having this conversation in Elvish. The dialect's hard.
Just
Anyway,
best advice I'd say, just add spit to it.
What? Why would you spit in it?
To your words.
Words you spit in your. What does he mean? And once again, in Elvish, just talking around
in
you.
Elvish, he's one of my favorite. He makes me laugh quite a bit. I believe back at his home, he is probably some sort of court jester.
I see. Tell me
I just beam at
a
Godric.
joke. Some sort of joke.
Oh, this is
My husband says that you are a joker or a... No, it's not laughing stock. That's not correct.
Make it raunchy, buddy. Go. Embarrassing. Do it.
Well, don't be rude. You're in my home.
Oh God.
Someone hand him the dragon walks into
No
the
one
bar.
can think of a joke when
exactly.
when you're under pressure.
It's right there.
100%.
Fuck off, dice!
Fuck you, dice.
I mean, if anyone's gonna say it.
Random page.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't know how the book works.
They've betrayed me before.
You read left to right. You put together vowels and stuff to make sentences.
Consonants.
Why was the druid arrested for trying to summon crows?
What's a druid?
I translate in Elven.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Attempted
Why?
murder.
Oh,
also
because a
translate
gathering
it
of
over.
many crows is often referred to as a murder. I see. That's funny.
It's best
You
I
are
got.
funny.
Best
That's
I got.
That was very good.
Oh,
She turns
shit.
to you. His mind is like a child. There's no way he's a court jester.
All my other jokes were involved in
More like
insulting
a town
Ulthion. I wanted
laughing
to be
stock.
nice.
Perhaps.
Very considerate.
He's
of
very
you.
strong.
The town fool, maybe?
Fool, yes.
But jesters are good at their
Careful with
jobs.
the word fool. I'm pretty sure he understands that one in Elven. I call him that all the time.
Oh.
He's
We'll
very
see.
strong, though. And so the tattoos on him are powerful magic.
Incredibly so, I can see it.
Just kind of looking between you two. I have no idea what the fuck y'all are saying.
This is Locke.
Ah, wizard.
I walk over and I kind of forcibly just like pull you into the conversation.
Yeah, okay. Yes, wizard. Arcane. And yourself, I suppose?
Yes, I've dabbled and been instructed in magic. I spent many years learning from private tutors and instructors in the art.
Very good. People seem to have some kind of knack for it.
Maybe if we have time, we can discuss relativism and the first law of magic and the basic theoretical levels of a closed system of energy and sympathy.
Oh my. Yes. That would be excellent.
I assume from your reaction, because you have no facial structure, that was excitement.
Yes.
I guess my husband's not the most stimulating discusser of magic. He doesn't. It's beyond him. He's always been gifted and blessed by the deities and the Seldarine, so he doesn't understand it.
Holding her hand, I just say, I prefer to speak about the magic of our love for one another.
So you've gained a better sense of humor since you've been gone, I see.
Yes, that would be because
they-
of the goblin.
They've been a positive change on you, I see. Either way, maybe if we have time, we can discuss such things. I'm sure you're dying to have an intelligent... She looks at Godric. An intelligent conversation.
Yes. Well, he does his best. We're trying. He's learning his letters. Doing well. And
Well, I assume a
enjoy-
naturally gifted sorceress like Katarina also doesn't offer much in return when it comes to magic in theory.
No, we don't discuss theory often. I haven't. I honestly am. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling like myself. Yes. Some discussion on theory would be quite good. Yes.
Well, while you're here, you should have make sure to have Ulthion take you up to the old fortress. Take him. You should take him to the Phoenix Hold so he can see. The magic connection to the weave is very strong there, and that ancient cave is a beautiful sight to behold.
It's one of my favorite places to be, actually. I'd love to take you there, Rob.
The whole interior is smooth obsidian. It's beautiful. I believe that fortress is the most direct translation, but really in Elven it's meant to be protection or protective barrier. Really, it's less a fortress and just a wall meant to keep others from transgressing and harming the natural beauty of the environment. It's less meant to be defensive in any way, but it is run down and it's an older tradition, but that nobody really follows, and everybody just sort of goes there. The runes have been there for quite some time, well before my family was even in this region.
Sounds wonderful.
Oh well, and then where's the last one? Is it the goblin?
Yes, up there playing. He caught on quick.
Or a
Well-
goblin? Yes.
Wave over. I point at Aethwin.
She just...
Random
Just like,
And I like hop down and scurry over, like dodging out.
His best character yet.
random elf.
Mike's an one-shot character.
Mike's an extra. Yeah.
Playing an ancient instrument of the bards.
Confused elf number 1.
Yeah.
Yes. So I dodge, and I scurry up. Oh, milady! As I take a deep bow and I speak in Elven to her.
Well, why? Educated.
Yes.
Even polite.
I was taught by the venerable Von Bell, the great, very talented bard.
I've never heard of him, but I'll
Well-
take your word for it.
Well, I don't think he ever traveled here.
Well, he definitely instructed you in proper etiquette and how to greet
Indeed,
someone.
I did have some tips from Ulthion.
Oh, I see.
I'm pretty sure he's the one member of the party that actually listens to me.
Ah.
Well, it's kind of like when you write, you need to read. So I speak a lot, so I have to listen a lot.
It's very wise. It's very wise indeed.
Yeah, I have a bunch of those little sayings. I just keep them in my pocket, figuratively speaking, of course.
But you're not just a musician, you're an actual bard. You practice bardic magic.
Yes,
Correct?
yes.
I've always found bardic magic so interesting. It doesn't rely on the intricacies of arithmetic or sympathetic magic. It's so natural, and it comes from a very strong personality. So you give me the impression that you're so much larger than life.
Yes, especially for a goblin. I like to call it the resonance. It's almost like, as opposed to just a weave, your big personality makes other things resonate in the same way that you do, and so it affects it in a magical way.
The resonance.
Yes.
I would like to hear more about the resonance here if you're here for some time.
Oh, well, definitely. We can't leave until we see Ravioli. Where is he? I've been
Ravioli? What's
keeping
that?
my eye out.
Is that some sort of animal or food that
I
we
believe
have?
ravioli is a food, yes, from Madrin. But he's trying to say Aravela.
Our son?
Yes.
Liz Ulthion told you about our son.
That he's handsome and looks a lot like Ulthion, but he might not be around because he plays and studies with other children. So he was desperately hoping to see him.
Well, he should be arriving tomorrow, but yes, he was actually tutoring in languages in another estate.
Ooh. And so, how you haven't told me his age. Or
Yes, I
have you?
have.
Have you told me his age?
Yes.
How old is he?
Not particularly old.
Well, you gotta give me specifics because it's not particularly old. Is that like 2? Is it like 200? Is it like...
Is this still an Elven, by the way?
I'm assuming
Yeah, we're just smiling and nodding.
Mm-hmm.
Galdrick,
yeah.
how old is Aravala?
I believe you said 8.
Yes.
8?
Yes, 800 years old.
No, because you're not 800 years old.
Time
No.
works backwards for elves.
I thought you said you were 1600.
I didn't say.
No, you're not going to get one over on
That's
me.
right.
He's,
right.
I
Thank you,
believe
Galdrick.
he's 8.
He is 8.
I feel as though you've done a great deal of misleading and had much fun at their expense when it comes to our culture and our practices. They're Ulthion.
Mm-hmm.
Always the same, nothing has changed, never taking your studies seriously or anything else other than your dedication to Alatrari.
He pulled a wonderful joke on Godric where he put a feather in his shoe. See how long it would take him to notice.
He was never very good at pranks. That's me. I'm good at doing those.
Oh, I thought someone was breaking into the party and we would have to attack them. But it appears to be one of your neighbors.
Katarina,
Well, it's been pleasant to meet every one of you.
enjoy the party.
Thank you for your
I feel
hospitality, my lady.
If you're sure.
I'm good.
You can go back to playing music if you really want to.
You're just so pretty and intense. I don't know what to do. It makes me anxious.
That's how I feel.
She has like these almost like jewel-like irises. The refraction on the inside of her eyes makes you think that you're staring into some sort of deep sapphire.
This
Well.
is how I imagine Inara when she's not drunk and is in dragony form.
Oh, yes.
Inara?
Yes, he shared a dance with her.
Really?
Yes.
Inara?
Yes.
The very same one that would refuse every other dragon that comes courting.
Right?
Inara.
Exactly the same.
Well,
We
maybe,
sure that's what her name was? Inara?
I'm pretty sure.
I
That's
was
what
there.
she said. Maybe
was
maybe my personality is dragon big. We've met a few. Most of them are jerks.
Huh?
Not the metallics.
Well, that's
All
the most
metallics are-
surprising thing and interesting thing I've heard so far tonight is that Inara would have shared a dance with you and finds you
Oh.
interesting.
It was lovely. Oh, I'm gonna go swoon over here. So I walk away.
I can't tell if it's a mere fascination or something deeper, but yes, they shared a dance.
He's definitely withdrawing from
The draconic presence.
draconic presence,
Yeah.
for sure. Either way, well, in common, enjoy the festivities and feel free to walk the grounds and explore. Everything is open in the villa to you. Feel free. We do have beds and sleeping chambers according to that would assist foreigners when they're here visiting. Obviously, elves, we use something very different. We have a different sort of home or room or bedroom, but
Right, Ulthion mentioned that.
yes.
I did.
Mostly lounging chairs and such. We like to sit and contemplate, and we don't require the same amount of rest, obviously. I'm sure you spend time with Ulthion, you understand. And we're not the only elves. I'm babbling now. Either way, feel free to find a place to rest. Did you bring Burr up with you? Is he here?
I forgot Burrup. I forgot him.
You forgot him, like you forgot about him being here, or you forgot him in
I
Mendrathis?
forgot him in Mendrathis. But to be perfectly honest, he was supposed to stay at the villa, and he came back and started just eating all of the food and everything. He didn't listen to me first. And I didn't tell him to come with me when I went to Winnet.
I know, I wanted to have words with him about that very thing, because his father is intolerable, and he's much easier to work with. I like Burrup much more than his father. His father angers me to no end. All he does is complain about the cooking and complain that his bones are aching, and all he does is, I don't even know why he's here anymore. He should be out with your father, bothering him. He's the one who saved him. He should be bothering him.
I agree, but look, no, the debt is different. Burrup sees himself as my brother, and honestly, I kind of see it the same way, so...
And please tell me that Misha is fine.
Oh, of course, Misha's fine.
We don't want that
She did
coming
eat.
back on our family.
No.
That's for sure.
Not at all. That would be, well, that would be
Devastating.
A problem. Devastating.
Devastating.
A to-do, at least.
She needs time to rest and regain her form.
Yes.
Either way.
She ate one of Friend's pets, Misha. It was a mouse.
We did warn her that being a fox for as long as she's been one, she might tend to pick up those animal tendencies as she acts out being one.
remember.
Either way, I have to get back to the kitchen before things fall apart.
Sure,
You should stay out here.
I will.
Keep an eye on your friends.
I was imagining he went on to live a full and fulfilling mouse life with a bunch of little pink mouse babies.
Well, they are called pinkies when they're that little.
All right, so she rests her forehead against yours, and then she goes back off into the villa.
I'll bow again as she's leaving.
You don't.
She nods.
Sure.
Anyway.
As soon as she leaves, isn't she fucking wonderful?
She's gorgeous.
Yes.
Abigail.
And her presence alone, it lights up the darkest room. You see the way she looks at me?
Dialect was a little rough, but other than that, fantastic.
She's incredible. I was very resistant at first, but she is the 1000. My 1000.
You're 1,000?
Yes, the one I plan to spend 1,000 years with. We tend to only live to about 900, so it's a statement.
Ah.
That's why I always giggle when somebody back on Gwinnett says she's the one. I'm like, 1 year? Fools.
You're fools.
You tried food? Gotta stop slapping people.
I'm saying hello.
You're pretending to say hello. You're more refined than that, and you know it. You're trying to start some kind of fight. Or
I
or
am
embarrass
not.
people. You're reminding everyone you're larger.
It's not. They were. Yeah. Who's your favorite neighbor?
Who was my favorite neighbor?
The opposite of that.
My least favorite
Yes.
neighbor. Why?
Want to say hello? Like I'd been.
You know, I don't think he's here. He's about 4 houses down the road. Actually, if you just run due east down the street and don't stop until you hear the magical message from me, then you'll find him. And that'll be nice and subtle.
No.
I didn't.
No.
Worth a try.
Mainly because I have no idea where I am. I would probably get lost. This place
It
is
is
huge.
dark once you get outside the village.
Considering I can't see in the dark like the rest of you, yes.
Well, that's true. Well, Rock can't see in the dark either.
He just glows.
Eyes a little.
You're like a nightlight.
Sometimes, right?
Making himself conscious.
I did forget Burrup, though.
You forgot Burrow?
I think that
Yes.
makes you a bad friend.
That makes you an asshole.
Probably.
But then again, he knows where you live, so I imagine he'll just be coming along. Eventually.
I mean, he knew I was coming. I said out loud, Burrup, ask everyone else if they'd like to attend.
You said everyone else, though.
Well, I
Keyword.
did. It's fucking rude.
Well, I'm going to continue drinking and eating your food.
Enjoy. I know, is it you or you? One of you doesn't like mushrooms. But those ones over there are filled with a type of cheese, and there's a goat's meat, too.
What?
Goat's meat stuffed mushrooms.
I'm gonna go have that.
Nice.
And then I'll kind of walk around and start introducing, creating bridges between the members of the party and my neighbors, friends, etc. Until everybody's at least well acquainted enough to where I don't have to babysit any of them.
And then I pump them for stories about his childhood.
Okay. Make me a persuasion check.
I am also doing this.
Shit.
I don't speak Elven, so I'm just trying not to start a fight
You
with
find
somebody.
plenty of conversation in common.
Oh, good.
25.
25.
While they're doing
Wait,
that,
let me
and
see
I
if
don't
I'm
know they're
better.
doing that, I'm just gonna sit back and watch
I'm not better.
my
15.
new friends and my old friends and everybody, and just take in the night sky and sip on a wine and just enjoy the spectacle.
Okay. There's a table set out, yeah?
There's multiple tables. It's the entire property. It seems is pretty much the entire estate. It seems is pretty much being used for this communal event because there's about 70 people here, and they're all spread out. And it's not like everybody's just hanging out in like one space or a specific space. Part of doing this in like the Elven tradition is to like walk the estate, the villa, look at the art, the property, examine the home, share stories. So there's people in rooms just kind of gathered in like small groups, like talking and sharing stories. But yeah, there's plenty of space. There's plenty of quiet spaces. There's private gardens. So finding your way around the villa would lead you through a few different rooms and present quite a few opportunities to like explore Elven culture as a whole.
Sure. So, party's been going for a little while.
Mhm.
We're in their conversations.
Mhm.
I earlier had told Katerina to go back to the party, enjoy herself. I feel
Mhm.
fine.
I'm still keeping an eye on him, anyways.
Yeah, good call. All right. So, Locke is gonna walk along the table strewn about with the meal, the food. Most of it eaten by now, I assume.
Mhm.
I'll grab a full goblet of wine. Head over towards Ulthion's direction. Hold out like it's a toast to you.
Interesting.
Is it?
Well, you don't drink, but I'll accept a toast.
So I kind of raise my voice. A toast, everyone. And then kind of snap, and it's loud, like kind of thundered, but not like deafeningly loud, just to get everyone's attention.
Everybody looks. The music stops. Everybody kind of looks your
There's a little
direction.
spark of blue electricity after the snap.
I'm definitely too close to an elf right now.
Blair, head is in your arms. Right?
Yeah.
He's bumping.
I'm sorry. You're just small.
Ulthion, I'm glad you brought me here.
I'm glad you're here.
So then, Locke sort of starts to raise off of the ground after you definitely feel a fly being cast. And for all of you, I thank you all for your hospitality, but then I kind of turn the goblet and pour it out, and then kind of toss it in your direction.
What are you doing?
This is all very wrong. And you are all very wrong. And you should all wither in your shame. You live in a luxury and subjugate others around you and proclaim your superiority, and his eyes are starting to flash in a red color. You look down upon...
We need to stop him.
I'm gonna cast Dominate Person on him.
I dispel that.
Oh.
Counterspell.
What is going on?
How high in the air are you?
Just a little bit, like 3 feet. Just getting some height over the rest of the elves.
Locke, that's enough.
There is evil at your door, and you feast and subjugate and claim excellence. I will show you Warmaster. My eyes go full red. I look like I'm about to thunderbolt or lightning bolt you. There's a whole of lightning, but instead I turn into mist. The mist rolls around you and it's like thunderclouds and lighting like a storm. And as I reappear, I grab a fistful of your hair from behind you, yank your head back. The hidden blade comes out.
What the fuck? What?
Until next Friday.
What? What?